Chapter 1516 Chapter 1516 Crisis. Escape. Shirguan's spear of God's punishment was so powerful that it seemed to be able to pierce through everything in the world. Lu Ming's hair stood on end. The sense of danger that the stone crown gave him was too strong. Block it. With a single thought, the holy weapon shield flew out again and blocked in front of him. At the same time, he continued to fly forward. Stay here. Mo, he roared with anger. He did not expect that he would kill two Tianyu demon sect disciples after intercepting Lu Ming. His killing intent towards Lu Ming grew even stronger. The demonic blade burst forth and slashed at Lu Ming. You're looking for death. A cold glint flashed in Lu Ming's eyes as he covered his body with the black wings. Boom! Shirguan's spear of divine punishment struck the shield and sent it flying. It then continued to strike the black wings. Lu Ming's body trembled and he was sent flying. Blood trickled from his mouth. The stone crown's attack was simply too powerful. If he didn't have two saint weapons protecting him, he wouldn't have been able to block it. So many saint weapons. Who's that guy? He has so many saint weapons. In the distance, there were some onlookers who were staring at Lu Ming with burning eyes. Lu Ming had too many holy weapons on him. He took out 3 in a row. Can you avoid death by using a saint weapon? Today, you'll still die. Kill! Shirguan shouted. He was bathed in holy light and charged at Lu Ming with the spear of divine punishment in his hand. He was like a god. Shirguan was definitely a rare heaven's favorite of the Tianxin sect. Although he was far from being a deity, he was still very terrifying. At this rate, even if Lu Ming had the protection of his holy weapon, he would not be able to withstand more than a few attacks. Chirp, chirp, unknowingly, the bubble appeared on Lu Ming's shoulder. It waved its small claws and opened a space-time tunnel. Lu Ming rushed in without hesitation. The next moment, he was thousands of miles away. Then, with a flap of his black wings, Lu Ming flew away at top speed. The space-time domain, damn it! The stone crown roared in anger and chased after Lu Ming at high speed. However, in front of them, Lu Ming made the bubble open another space-time tunnel. This time, Lu Ming entered and his figure disappeared. Damn it! Shirguan went mad. His anger soared to the sky, and his killing intent was as cold as the winter snow. This kid escaped again. Mo's eyes were also very cold. Shirguan, this man is from the Dragon God Valley. Mo's voice sounded. Dragon God Valley? We must kill all the people of Dragon God Valley in this conference. Shirguan said coldly. He turned into a ray of light and left. Lu Ming. He gritted his teeth. His eyes were as cold as a poisonous snake's. Then, he left. Lu Ming was running wildly in the Grey Mountains. Previously, Lu Ming had asked Bubbles to open a space-time tunnel and they appeared in the Tsang Mountains. The Tsang Mountains' terrain was complex and the ancient trees towered into the sky. Naturally, the stone crown lost track of Lu Ming. Lu Ming ran for a while in the Grey Mountains before he found a remote place and released Tian Chui and Xuanixin. Ninth junior brother, are you alright? Tian Chui and Xuanixin looked at Lu Ming. I'm fine. I've already shaken them off. Lu Ming said. Fuck, a LV9 Martial Royal Realm expert is chasing us. If I increase my cultivation by another 2 levels, I'll definitely kill him with my hammer. Tian Chui unhappily said. Ninth junior brother, it's all thanks to you this time. Xuanixin said. She and Tian Chui were not adept at speed. If not for Lu Ming's Grotto Heaven treasure, they would not have been able to escape. I didn't expect ninth junior brother to even have a Grotto Heaven treasure. Tian Chui grinned. Are Grotto Heaven treasures very rare? Lu Ming asked curiously. Of course it's rare. A Grotto Heaven treasure is like a small world of its own. Only a great emperor can make it, and it also requires rare materials. Tian Chui said. Only great emperors can refine it. Lu Ming was secretly shocked. He had originally thought that Grotto Heaven treasures were not rare in the Yuan continent. It seemed that treasures obtained from the Battle of Providence were all extremely rare. Let's take a rest here, Lu Ming said. Before this, they had all suffered some injuries. Although they were not serious, they still needed to recover. Tian Chui and Xuaningxin both nodded. The three of them sat cross-legged and meditated. An hour later, Lu Ming had fully recovered from the minor injuries he had suffered earlier. Where are we going now? Tian Chui asked. Let's go to the Dragon God Valley Station. Every sect has a station in the Tsang Mountain for their disciples to stay in. There are sage realm elders there. The people of the Tianshan sect will not dare to be arrogant at the Dragon God Valley Station, Xuaningxin said. Lu Ming and Tian Chui naturally had no objections. Then, Xuaningxin led the way, and the three of them went to the Dragon God Valley Station. Very quickly, a large building appeared in front of them. There were many palaces built on the mountainside, looking very majestic. Lu Ming and the other two took out their Dragon God Valley disciples' tokens, and they were naturally unimpeded. Lu Ming. A crisp sound was heard. Lu Ming looked in the direction of the sound and a smile appeared on his face. Ying, brother Chiu. Lu Ming called out. It was Chiu Ying and Chiu Hao. The two of them walked towards Lu Ming with smiles on their faces. Ying, I haven't seen you for a while. Your cultivation has improved a lot. Lu Ming sized up Chiu Ying and smiled. After not seeing her for a while, Chiu Ying's cultivation had already reached the third level of the martial royal realm. This was beyond Lu Ming's expectations. Chiu Hao, on the other hand, seemed to have just broken through to LV2 martial royal realm. In the Emperor Tsang mystic realm, I obtained an inheritance and joined the Ice Dragon Valley. I was chosen by an elder of the Ice Dragon Valley and was accepted as a disciple. That's why my cultivation level has improved so quickly. Chiu Ying explained. Congratulations. Lu Ming smiled, feeling happy for Chiu Ying. They were friends, and since Chiu Ying had a good encounter, he was naturally happy. Who are these two? Chiu Ying looked at Tian Chui and Xuaningxin. This is my senior brother and senior sister from Cloud Dragon Valley. Lu Ming introduced them to Chiu Ying. Both parties greeted each other. Ying, when did you guys arrive? Lu Ming asked. We've been here for 10 days. Big brother and I wanted to find you to come with us, but we heard that you left long ago when we arrived at Cloud Dragon Valley. Why are you only here now? Chiu Ying asked curiously. I was delayed on the way. Lu Ming smiled and did not explain further. It'll take you to get a house. You just need to register, Chiu Ying said. She seemed very happy to see Lu Ming. After that, Lu Ming and the other two each received a room and went back to their own rooms. Chiu Ying and the others also bade farewell and left. Lu Ming returned to his room and continued to channel and regulate his breathing. Right now, there were still 20 days before the start of the treasure sealing assembly, so it was still early. In the next few days, Lu Ming and the others were cultivating. Shi Guan did not find the heavenly god sect's encampment. 3 days later, Xuaningxin and Tian Chui came to look for Lu Ming together. To buy something? Lu Ming was a little surprised. Xuaningxin and Tian Chui had come to find him with the purpose of going shopping together. Chapter 1517, 1517 Chapter 1517 Emperor-ranked power Lu Ming only understood after Xuaningxin explained. The triennial treasure sealing assembly, the 13 top sects of the Tsang region would gather at the Tsang mountain. Not only that, there were also many from other sects, big and small. It could be said that this was the biggest event in the Azure continent in 3 years. Such a grand event naturally attracted many large chambers of commerce to gather at the Tsang mountain. In fact, there were even large chambers of commerce from outside of the Azure region. Here, they brought with them many rare treasures and treasures that the Azure region didn't have. Among them, the most famous one was the Supreme Treasure Pavilion. I heard that the Supreme Treasure Pavilion is an extremely large chamber of commerce outside of the Azure continent. Their power is unparalleled. I'm afraid that even the 13 top sects in the Azure continent combined might not be as powerful as the Supreme Treasure Pavilion. Xuanixin explained. So strong? Lu Ming was shocked. Of course, it's strong. That's because the Pavilion of Supreme Treasures is an Emperor-level force. Xuanixin said. An Emperor-ranked power. Lu Ming's pupils constricted. As the name suggested, an Emperor-ranked force was a force with a great Emperor in charge. Of the 13 top powers in the Azure continent, not a single one had a great Emperor in charge. Their strength couldn't be compared to an Emperor-ranked power. The difference was too great. Every time the Supreme Treasure Pavilion comes, it brings with it many rare and even non-existent treasures. Today is the opening day of the Supreme Treasure Pavilion, and it will attract countless people. Let's go and see if we can buy anything useful. Xuanixin said. All right. Lu Ming nodded and immediately became interested. Not long after, the three of them had changed into black robes and put on black bamboo hats, which covered their entire bodies. At the same time, the three of them concealed their auras. Even if there were acquaintances, they wouldn't be able to recognize them. According to Xuanixin, when the Supreme Treasure Pavilion opened today, many people from all the major forces would go there. There were many grudges between these forces, and once they went, wouldn't it be easy to start a fight? Therefore, many people would wear black robes and bamboo hats to avoid being recognized. In addition, even if he bought some precious items, he could also prevent others from thinking about it. The three of them flew toward the middle of a mountain, and a vast palace soon appeared in front of the three-eyed man. Above the palace, 3 big words were written, the Supreme Treasure Pavilion. The door of the Supreme Treasure Pavilion had already opened, and one figure after another flew into the door. Most of them were like Lu Ming and the other two, wearing black robes and bamboo hats. Even if they were not wearing them, they had disguised themselves. The three of them walked through the door, and they immediately saw huge counters. Behind the counters were all kinds of treasures. The hall was extremely spacious. There were counters lined up in an orderly manner, and there were people in front of the counters to greet everyone. Countless people strolled around in the palace. At a glance, there were no less than 100,000 people, but it did not seem crowded, which showed how big the palace was. Moreover, no one would dare to snatch the treasures here. This was because this was the Supreme Treasure Pavilion. It was said that many years ago, when the Supreme Treasure Pavilion first came to the Tsang state, there was a saint who wanted to take the treasures of the Supreme Treasure Pavilion. In the end, a supreme saint appeared from the Supreme Treasure Pavilion and killed the saint with a single slap. After that, no one dared to covet the treasures of the Supreme Treasure Pavilion. So many precious materials. Lu Ming's eyes swept around and he was dazzled. However, the materials, spirit weapons, and pills here were all of a low grade and weren't of much use to the three of them. Let's go upstairs. The treasures on the second floor are of a higher grade. Xuanixin said. There were 3 levels here, and the treasures on each level would be of a higher grade and more precious. The three of them walked up the stairs to the second floor. The treasures on the second floor were indeed of a higher grade and more precious. This is the Myriad Existence's liquid. It's a spiritual liquid that's even more precious than the Myriad Spirit liquid. Lu Ming saw a type of all-creation liquid and bought 10 caddies on the spot. Of course, the price was that he had to give up more than half of the mid-grade raw stones he had. Lu Ming kept the Myriad creation liquid in the mountain and river diagram. He then watered the Path Understanding Ancient Tree with the Myriad creation liquid. Now, the Path Understanding Ancient Tree was growing better and better. It was getting thicker and thicker, and it had more leaves. The three of them strolled around, and Tian Chui and Xuaningxin bought some items. Let's go to the third floor, Lu Ming said. Then, the three of them went up to the third floor. There were also many people on the third floor, no less than tens of thousands. Of course, many of the treasures on the third floor had reached the saint realm, such as saint medicine and saint weapons. They were very precious, and many people couldn't afford them. They were just here to broaden their horizons. So many saint weapons. Lu Ming looked at a counter. There were saint weapons on the counter. At a glance, there were no less than 100. No less than 100 saint weapons. How shocking was that? Each saint weapon gave off a mysterious aura and all kinds of light. There were only two young and beautiful women standing on the counter. It seemed that they were only at the martial emperor realm. In front of the counter, many people stopped to look. They all stared at the saint weapons with a burning light, as if they wanted to swallow them up. If it were anywhere else, hundreds of saint weapons guarded by only two young women at the martial emperor realm would have been taken away long ago. However, no one dared to make a move here. If anyone dared to make a move, the person standing in front of him would most likely be an absolute saint. The three of them came to the counter. Ladies, do you have any holy weapon gloves for sale? Lu Ming said in a low voice. Of course. Do you want to buy it? A young woman said with a smile. That's right, can you let me take a look first? Lu Ming said. All right. One of the women nodded and took out a box. She opened the box and revealed a dark red ball the size of a longan. What is this? Lu Ming was a little dumbfounded. Wasn't he supposed to give him a glove-type holy weapon? Why did he take out a round ball? Sir, this is a pair of saint weapon gloves specially made by my treasure pavilion. It's very mysterious. Let me try it on for you. A young woman smiled as she picked up the ball and placed it in her palm. A shocking scene appeared. The ball actually softened like a pool of liquid and wrapped the young woman's palm inside, forming a glove. The young woman's palm seemed to be covered with a layer of black gauze. Then, the young woman injected her vital essence. Buzz! The glove exuded a powerful aura, the aura of a holy weapon. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He had fallen in love with the holy weapon gloves at first sight. Sir, these holy weapon gloves are called the flowing essence gloves. They are made of flowing essence gold and other precious materials. They contain the laws of nature and are true holy weapons. They are extremely hard, and holy weapons of the same level can't break the gloves at all. Moreover, they are easy to use. Please have a look, sir. As soon as the young woman finished speaking, the flowing essence glove shrank in her palm and disappeared into it as if it were alive. The next moment, it came out again and covered her palm. Chapter 1518 Chapter 1518 Targeted. The flowing elemental gloves will appear when you want to use them. Similarly, when you want to put them away, you can put them away with a thought. The young woman introduced. What an amazing pair of gloves. Such a pair of gloves is a rare treasure in the world. On the side, many people's eyes were burning with passion as they stared at the gloves in the young woman's hands. For martial artists who were good at palm, finger, and fist techniques, this kind of glove was too precious. The temptation was too great. Miss, I want this pair of gloves. How much are you selling it for? I want one too. Miss, how many raw stones? Immediately, a few people spoke and stepped forward. Lu Ming furrowed his eyebrows. He was the one who asked first. I'm sorry, the flowing essence gloves. As the materials are hard to find and the refining process is also very difficult, I only have one. The young woman said. Only one? Then sell it to me. Get lost, it's mine. At least a dozen people spoke, and the scene was noisy. This glove is worth 500 million medium-grade raw stones. No bargaining. The young woman said. What? 500 million. The scene suddenly quieted down, and a series of gasps sounded. 500 million medium-grade raw stones. Miss, a glove? The voice of the person who had asked to buy earlier was a little dry. Gloves were a bit more expensive than normal saint weapons, but they usually came in pairs. A decent pair of gloves could be worth 3 normal saint weapons. A saint weapon was worth around 100 million mid-grade Orirox. Had originally estimated this glove to be worth around 150 million, but now it was asking for 500 million. The price was shockingly high. It's too high, I can't afford it at all. It's not worth it. Those people shook their heads and gave up on buying. 500 million was too expensive. 500 million. Lu Ming also took a deep breath in his heart. 500 million was equivalent to 5 bright saint weapons. He had obtained 4 bright saint weapons in the Dragon Palace's treasury, the Black Dragon Spear. Lu Ming wanted to keep it for his own use, so he only had 3 bright saint weapons left. Even if he sold all 3, he was still short of 200 million mid-grade raw stones. All the raw gemstones he had on him were not enough for 200 million. He would only have enough if he sold a lot of precious refining materials. Young lady, do you accept holy weapons here? Lu Ming asked. I received it. The young woman smiled. Lu Ming waved his hand and 3 bright saint weapons appeared in his hand. They were all obtained from the Dragon Palace's treasure vault. 3 saint weapons. Many people's eyes lit up and they stared at Lu Ming. Their eyes were shimmering with all sorts of lights, and no one knew what they were thinking. Sir, if you want to buy flowing essence gloves, you can use bright saint weapons as payment. These 3 bright saint weapons and 200 million Orirox will do. The young woman said. However, Lu Ming still looked hesitant. It was not that he did not want to pay, but he had no more. He still had a shield and the black wings, but he wanted to keep both. Junior brother, I'll lend you 2 saint weapons first. As if reading Lu Ming's mind, Tian Chui waved his hand and 2 more holy weapons appeared. Senior brother, you, Lu Ming's gaze flickered. I have enough for now. Tian Chui laughed. All right, I'll return it to senior as soon as possible. Lu Ming accepted Tian Chui's holy weapon and said, Miss, I'll buy the flowing elemental gloves for 5 holy weapons. Sure. The young lady took Lu Ming's holy weapon, put the flowing essence gloves into the box, and handed it to him. Lu Ming took it and reached out to hold the flowing elemental gloves that had turned back into a round ball. It was warm and cool to the touch. He infused his essential core slightly and the flowing essence glove started to flow like liquid, wrapping around Lu Ming's right palm. As light as nothing. Lu Ming sensed it carefully. The Luyuan gloves were as light as chiffon on his hands. He was almost weightless and as flexible as if he was empty-handed. Buzz! As he poured in more vital essence, the flowing essence gloves emitted a powerful aura. What? Lu Ming was slightly stunned. He realized that the flowing essence gloves' weight had increased rapidly as he channeled his essential core into the gloves. The stronger the essential core, the heavier the gloves were. Lu Ming was pleasantly surprised that the flowing essence gloves had such an effect. Are you satisfied, sir? The young woman said. Many thanks. Lu Ming did not say much. With a thought, he kept the flowing elements gloves. If he wanted to use them freely, he would need to go back and refine them. At the side, many pairs of burning eyes were staring at Lu Ming. Some of their eyes were filled with greed. Lu Ming sneered. In the treasure pavilion, these people did not dare to do anything to him. Lu Ming swaggered around with Xuanixin and the heavenly hammer. That is Icy Heart. Not long after, on a counter, Xuanixin found a heart of ice. This was a rare treasure. Xuanixin's original form was a snow dragon, so it was of great use to her. In the end, Xuanixin used 2 saint weapons in exchange for the heart of ice. So many saint weapons. These 3 guys have so many saint weapons. Some people had been paying attention to Lu Ming and the other 2. When they saw this scene, their eyes burned even more fervently. In total, Lu Ming, Tian Chui, and Xuanixin had already taken out 7 saint weapons. How shocking was this? Senior brother, senior sister, were being watched. Next, split up and mix into the crowd to divert attention. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Tian Chui and Xuanixin. There were close to 200,000 people on the 3 levels of the Supreme Treasure Pavilion. At least half of them were wearing black robes and bamboo hats. As long as they mixed into the crowd and kept walking around, these people could forget about finding them. All right. Let's do this. Tian Chui and Xuanixin both nodded. Then, the 3 of them split up and rushed into the crowd. Not good, these guys want to run, chase them. Someone followed Lu Ming and the rest closely. However, Lu Ming and the other 2 had concealed their auras. The other party could not lock onto their auras at all. The 3 of them moved quickly through the crowd. They would reach the first floor, turn dozens of times, run to the second floor, and then to the third floor. An hour later, those people had completely lost track of Lu Ming and the other 2. Damn it! What a pity! Some people sighed. Lu Ming and the other 2 definitely had an astonishing amount of wealth on them. If they could snatch it, they would be rich. Unfortunately, Lu Ming and the other 2 were too cunning. They slipped away just like that, making some people very unwilling. 2 hours later, Lu Ming, Tian Chui, and Xuanixin gathered at the main entrance through voice transmission. They had bought what they needed and it was time to leave. The 3 of them went out of the gate and flew toward the Dragon God Valley. However, after flying for a while, the 3 of them suddenly stopped. In front of them, 3 figures wrapped in black robes blocked their way. Everyone, hand over your storage rings and get lost. The person in the middle spoke. From his voice, he sounded very young. You guys are really capable. Lu Ming said coldly. They were already very careful but they were still targeted. Chapter 1519, 1519 The battle against the Yudu sex paragon. Aren't you guys curious how we got our eyes on you? The man in the middle said. I was just about to ask. Lu Ming said. It's very simple. When you bought the Luyuan gloves, I put a kind of powder on you. It's colorless, odorless, shapeless, and shapeless. No matter where you go or how you mix into the crowd, you won't be able to escape my tracking. The man in the middle explained, hurry up and hand over your storage ring, or else, die. If you have the ability, you can try. Lu Ming said. 2 6th-level martial emperors and 1 4th-level martial emperor. You're quite arrogant. It'll be easy for me to kill you. The black-robed man in the middle stepped forward. However, his cultivation was also at the 6th level of the martial royal realm. Buzz! The other party waved his hand, and a dense black cloud instantly enveloped the 3 of them. Poisonous insects. They were densely packed poisonous insects. So it's the people from the Desire Poison sect, I'll do it. Xuanixin stepped out, her whole body exuding a cold aura, and struck out a palm. The palm power formed a terrifying cold wave that spread towards the poisonous insect. Immediately, the densely packed poisonous insects were frozen. Xuanixin then shook her palm, and those poisonous insects turned into ice fragments and disappeared. You have some ability, come again. A green mist burst out from the other party's body, emitting a disgusting stench, and rushed towards Xuanixin. Xuanixin stepped forward and punched out with both fists. Boom! Boom! Each punch sent out a terrifying cold wave that froze the void and the poisonous mist. You want to freeze my poisonous gas? In your dreams. Corrode it. Break. The other party shouted in a low voice, and the mist actually formed into small worms that corroded the ice. Then, the poisonous gas rushed towards Xuaningxin. What a terrifying poisonous gas! Lu Ming's heart stirred. He was well aware of Xuaningxin's combat power and how terrifying her cold wave was. It could freeze everything, even Zhen Yuan. However, it was corroded by the poison, which showed how terrifying the poison was. This person was definitely a peerless genius of the Yudu sect. No wonder he was so arrogant. Roar! Xuaningxin let out a dragon's roar, and the cold air on her body became even more intense. She kept punching with both fists, and the fist force formed into snow-white true dragons that flew out. Bang! These true dragons were powerful, and they charged through the mist toward the Yudu sect's chosen. Bang! The Yudu sect's paragon's body actually exploded, turning into a cloud of poisonous gas that enveloped Xuaningxin. Ha ha ha, my constitution is the superior earth spiritual body, the thousand desires poisonous body. You can't hurt me at all. The other party's cold voice came from within the poisonous gas. Xuaningxin's fists continued to bombard, but the poisonous gas rolled, as if it could not hurt her opponent at all. Endless poisonous gas enveloped Xuaningxin. Roar! The dragon's roar came from Xuaningxin's mouth again. Her body began to change rapidly. The black robe on her body burst apart, and in the next moment, a huge snow dragon appeared in the sky. It's a real dragon. You are from Dragon God Valley. The voice of the Yudu sect's paragon rang out from within the poisonous gas. Roar! Xuaningxin turned into her true dragon form and let out a long roar. She opened her mouth and spat out a terrifying wave of cold air, which covered the surrounding 10 miles of land, turning it into a frozen land. This time, some of the poisonous gas was also sealed in ice. However, there was still a lot of poisonous gas left. At this time, it actually turned into weapons and attacked Xuaningxin. Xuaningxin stepped out with her dragon claw and clashed with the weapons. The two of them exchanged blows, and it was difficult to determine the winner in a short time. That's a true dragon. Its strength is so terrifying. And the people from the Desire Poison sect. The battle here was so shocking that many people in the distance were alarmed and flew over. There were even people in the Supreme Treasure Pavilion who were alarmed and flew over to take a look. For a time, the battlefield was surrounded by people. What a terrifying combat strength. ALV6 Martial Royal Realm Expert has such a strong combat strength. They're definitely top-notch heaven's favorites with superior earth spiritual body. Many people voiced out. In the blink of an eye, Xuaningxin and the other party had exchanged dozens of moves, and neither of them had won. The more the Desire Poison sect's chosen fought, the more shocked and impatient he became. Initially, he thought that his combat strength was more than enough to take down Lu Ming and the others. Not to mention a 6th-level martial emperor, he could even easily kill a 7th-level martial emperor. Even an ordinary 8th-level martial emperor would be poisoned to death if he was not careful. Now, a person of the same level had actually fought him to a draw. He knew that he had encountered a heaven's favorite of the same level. You guys, quickly attack and kill those two brats. The paragon of the Desire Poison sect roared. Buzz! Buzz! The other two from the Yudu sect charged towards Lu Ming and Tian Chui. The aura they revealed was at the peak of the 7th-level martial royal realm. Buzz! Buzz! As soon as the two of them attacked, a dense swarm of poisonous insects pounced on Lu Ming and Tian Chui. Die! Tian Chui roared in anger as he swung his giant hammer and struck out. Boom! The sky trembled violently as the giant hammer struck, bringing with it a terrifying vibration wave. Those poisonous insects exploded one after another and turned into ashes. Not only that, the vibration waves did not stop, directly bombarding the bodies of the two Yudu sect members. The bodies of the two Yudu sect members exploded, turning into green poisonous gas that rolled back and then condensed again. It was two young men, currently looking at Tian Chui in shock. Although they had a body of poison and could turn into poisonous gas to offset the power of the attack, there was a limit. If the power was too strong, they could still be injured or even killed. Tian Chui's earlier strength had already injured them. Kill. I don't care what kind of poison body you have, it'll crush you all. Tian Chui raised his giant hammer and charged at the two Yudu sect youths. Lu Ming did not even need to do anything. Not good. The two young men from the Desire Poison sect were shocked. They used their poisonous insects to form a shield to block in front of them, but under the hammer, they all collapsed. The two young men's bodies were scattered once more and then reformed in the distance. Their faces were pale and blood was flowing out of their mouths. Die! Tian Chui stepped forward. How dare you! Don't even think about killing my Yudu sect's people. A few figures flew over from the distance. Before they even arrived, a disgusting poisonous gas was already spreading towards Tian Chui. Some from the Desire Poison sect saw this and joined the battle. Many people. Lu Ming said coldly. He took a step forward and appeared in front of the few Yudu sect members behind him. The devouring power in his palm burst out and enveloped the poisonous gas. And NBSP hoo. The poisonous gas was completely devoured by Lu Ming. Boom! Boom! Then, Lu Ming stepped into the void and a nine dragon rushed out toward a few of the Yudu sect's people, sending them flying. Boom! On the other side, the person who had been fighting with Xuanixin turned into a cloud of poisonous gas and retreated quickly, then condensed into a human form. It was a pale and cold young man. Set up the poison formation. The cold-faced young man said. Chapter 1520, 1520 Chapter 1520 The Devil Sect's Intervention, yes. The other Yudu sect members spoke one after another. Venomous insects flew out from their bodies and flew towards Lu Ming and the others. At the same time, their bodies flickered and they stepped in a mysterious position. Then, their bodies collapsed one after another and turned into green poisonous gas. At that moment, the poisonous gas expanded rapidly and turned into a poisonous gas that filled the sky, enveloping Lu Ming and the other two. Lu Ming and Tian Chui removed their black robes and joined Xuanixin. The three of them stood together. This is a poison formation. Be careful. Xuanixin said. Her huge body was covered with snow-white dragon scales, full of beauty, like the most beautiful work of art in the world. I'll do it. Lu Ming said coldly, and the chaos domain spread out. Lightning. Then, Lu Ming waved his hand and the chaos domain turned into a thunder domain. Lightning filled the sky. It was as if countless lightning snakes were slithering between the sky and the earth. The lightning snakes were as thick as an arm and spread in all directions. The poisonous insects were struck by the lightning snakes and fell down in large groups. Fire. Lu Ming continued to speak. The chaos domain changed again, turning into flames that filled the sky and spread in all directions. The flames and lightning surged towards the poisonous insects and the poisonous mist. Chi chi chi. Between heaven and earth, a sizzling sound rang out, and waves of light smoke floated up. Whoosh! Black wings appeared on Lu Ming's back. They grew larger and were 100 meters long when spread. The black wings were covered with a wind domain and Lu Ming began to spin rapidly. And NBSP hoo. The black wings brought with them an endless amount of wind that spread out in all directions. The power was shocking. Thunder, fire, and wind surged between heaven and earth, resisting the poisonous gas from all directions. For a moment, they were in a stalemate. Senior brother, senior sister, get ready to attack. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Tian Chui and Xuanixin. Then, kill. Kill. Kill! Kill! Lu Ming bellowed a few times in succession. Invisible soul attacks were launched at the poisonous gas. The members of the Desire Poison sect cultivated the poison body. Their bodies could be dispersed, but their souls were still attached to the poisonous gas and would still be attacked by Lu Ming. Furthermore, since the spirit body was dispersed, its defense against the soul was even weaker. Lu Ming cast the divine sword technique and roared a few times. A few shrieks were heard from the poisonous gas. The poisonous gas twisted violently and then converged, beginning to condense into a human shape. Kill! Kill! Lu Ming, Tian Chui, and Xuaningxin shouted as they each charged towards a disciple of the Desire Poison sect that had formed. The black dragon spear appeared in Lu Ming's hands. He smashed the long spear down. All of a sudden, there were 10 layers of attacks that exploded. The void trembled violently. Bang! The Yudu sect disciple screamed as his body split into pieces. This time, it did not turn into poisonous gas. Instead, it was truly torn apart. Lu Ming's attack had exceeded his tolerance range and he was killed by Lu Ming. On the other side, Tian Chui and Xuaningxin also unleashed their strongest attacks, killing 1 person each. After killing 3 people, the poison formation had broken by itself. The remaining poisonous gas began to roll and condense into 3 people, who retreated at an extreme speed. One of them was the supreme genius of the Desire Poison sect. Today, you're the ones who will die. Tian Chui roared as he raised his hammer and charged towards the Yudu sect's men. Lu Ming and Xuaningxin also stepped forward. What's going on? The surrounding spectators were confused. Earlier, the Yudu sect's experts had set up a poison array that enveloped the entire space, including Lu Ming and the other 2. They thought that Lu Ming and the other 2 were dead for sure. However, they did not expect that in the next moment, lightning, fire, and wind would flash within the poison array. Following that, a few loud shouts could be heard and the poison array collapsed. A few people from the Yudu sect were killed in succession, leaving the remaining few at a disadvantage and retreating continuously. They didn't understand how the Desire Poison sect had lost. The remaining few from the Desire Poison sect had ugly expressions. Lu Ming's loud shouts earlier had already injured their souls. Now, they were no match for Lu Ming and the rest. Lu Ming. At this moment, a loud roar reverberated through the world. At least 8 or 9 demonic lights tore through the void and flew toward Lu Ming and the others. In the next moment, 9 figures appeared behind Lu Ming and the others, ready to attack from the back and the back. Mo He. Lu Ming's expression turned cold. The 9 figures were all disciples of the Tian Yu demon sect, and one of them was Mo He. Mo He's body was filled with killing intent. His eyes were sharp as he glanced at Lu Ming. Brother Wu, how about we join forces and kill these 3? Mo He looked at the heavens chosen from the Desire Poison sect and said. Of course you can. The paragon of the Desire Poison sect was overjoyed and quickly agreed. A ferocious look flashed in his eyes. It seemed that Lu Ming and the other 2 had offended quite a number of people. Mo He, you're courting death. Lu Ming said coldly. Because of Xian Yanqing, he didn't want to get into a bad relationship with the Tian Yu demon sect. However, the Tian Yu demonic sect had gone too far. Back then, Mo He had led people to hunt him down. If it wasn't for his good luck, he would have died. Every time he met Mo He in the Tsang Mountains, the other party wanted to kill him. Lu Ming decided that if he met the Tian Yu demonic sect again, he would not show any mercy and would kill them. You want to kill me? Mo He sneered. The demonic chi on his body soared to the sky. He unsheathed his demonic blade and became one with it, slashing at Lu Ming. Brat, let me fight you. Tian Chui shouted, raised his giant hammer, and smashed it towards Mo He. Clang! The demonic blade and the giant hammer collided with an earth-shaking sound. Mo He and Tian Chui were both shocked and forced to retreat. Again. Tian Chui's eyes revealed a murderous intent. Like a wild dragon, the muscles on his entire body bulged and a dragon's roar was emitted. He raised his giant hammer and smashed it towards Mo He. Kill! Mo He coldly shouted. His demonic blade burst forth, becoming even more terrifying as it rushed towards Tian Chui. Boom! 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 In an instant, the two of them exchanged more than a dozen moves, and neither of them had a clear winner. Do it! At this moment, Lu Ming and Xuaningxin also made their moves. Lu Ming's black wings flapped and he charged toward the people from the Tianyu demon sect. He thrust his black dragon spear forward, which turned into a dazzling ray of light. A peak LV-5 martial royal realm young man from the sky demon sect was killed by Lu Ming. Then, the long spear swept across and a LV-6 martial royal realm expert exploded. Roar! A dragon's roar rang out. Xuaningxin cooperated with Lu Ming and pounced on the people from the Tianyu demon sect. One of them was killed with a single claw. Kill! There was also an expert from the Tianyu demonic sect. He was a youth at the peak of the LV-7 martial royal realm, and he was fighting against Xuaningxin with shocking combat strength. However, Lu Ming was unrivaled. After killing a few people in a row, the remaining people from the Sky Demon sect were horrified. They retreated one after another, not daring to fight Lu Ming head-on. What a strong combat strength! That man from Dragon God Valley is so strong. He can even fight to a draw with Mo He. That's terrifying. Mo He is a top genius of the Tianyu demon sect. Even in the entire Azure continent, he is a top genius. He was actually able to fight with Mo He to such an extent, it seems to be the madman from Dragon God Valley, Tian Chui. In the surroundings, some people were discussing and some recognized Tian Chui. Chapter 1521, 1521 Chapter 1521 The stone crown reappears. Tian Chui loved to battle, loved to kill, and often went out. He had quite a reputation, so naturally there were people who recognized him. That snow dragon's combat strength is also extremely shocking. It seems to be stronger than ordinary true dragons. Indeed, that should be a true dragon's prodigy, and that LV-4 martial royal realm guy has amazing combat strength. That's where you're wrong. The LV-4 martial emperor realm expert is relying on his holy weapon. Did you see that? The wings on his back and the spear in his hand are both holy weapons. That's why he's so powerful. Without a holy weapon, his combat strength is just average. That's true. Many of the major sects were watching and discussing. In the sky, Lu Ming used his body technique and pounced on a 6th-level martial emperor. That person's expression changed drastically. He did not dare to take Lu Ming's attack head-on. Buzz! At this moment, a screech was heard. A huge golden toad pounced at Lu Ming. It opened its mouth and a dense poisonous gas spread towards Lu Ming. The poison in the saint weapon. Lu Ming's expression changed slightly. He could tell at a glance that the golden toad was a saint weapon, and the poison in it was absolutely terrifying. Buzz! Lu Ming retreated rapidly. He did not want to come into contact with the poisonous gas. The young man from the Yu-Du sect controlled the golden toad's sacred weapon and chased after Lu Ming. Buzz! And NBSP whoosh! The golden toad cried out like a living creature. It stomped in the air and turned into a golden light, charging toward Lu Ming. Whoosh! Then, a ray of golden light burst out of the toad's mouth and shot toward Lu Ming. Tongue! Lu Ming's eyes flickered. The golden light was the toad's tongue. Whoosh! The black dragon spear stabbed out like a black bolt of lightning. Ding! Ding! 2 rays of light, one black and one gold, collided in the air. Lu Ming's body trembled slightly and he took 2 steps back. The toad's tongue was also sent flying. What a powerful force! Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. His opponent's holy weapon was indeed powerful. Not only did it have poisonous gas, but it also had a tongue attack. Without a doubt, if one was hit by the tongue, they would definitely be strangled to death. Buzz! The golden toad cried out and spat out poisonous gas again. Get back! Lu Ming said coldly. He flapped his black wings, bringing with it a strong gust of wind that swept forward. The poisonous gas was blown away by the strong wind and instantly deviated from its course. A disciple of the Tianyu demon sect was careless and was enveloped by the poisonous gas. He immediately let out a shrill scream and turned into a skeleton in a few breaths, falling to the ground. What a terrifying poisonous gas! The disciple of the Tianyu demonic sect was a LV6 martial royal realm martial artist with a low-class earth spiritual body, but he died in a few breaths. The young man from the Desire Poison sect had a dark expression as he controlled the golden toad to charge at Lu Ming. Whoosh! At this moment, a terrifying sharp light shot towards Lu Ming from behind. It was a long spear, the spear of God punishment. This spear of God punishment was too fast and too powerful. Not good. The moment Lu Ming felt it, his body seemed to have stiffened. He was locked in place by a terrifying aura. In the next moment, the spear of divine punishment was about to pierce through his body. It was too fast. It was so fast that Lu Ming did not even have time to react. The spear of divine punishment pierced through Lu Ming's body. However, at this moment, Lu Ming's body shattered like a mirror with a bang. More than 10 meters away, Lu Ming's figure appeared. He could feel a thin layer of cold sweat on his back. The attack just now was too dangerous. Lu Ming was almost killed. Fortunately, at the critical moment, Bubbles made a move and cast the space-time domain, teleporting Lu Ming more than 10 meters away and avoiding the disaster. A figure appeared at the spot where Lu Ming had been standing and said in a cold voice, "Space-time domain." It's this person. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. The person who appeared was Shi Guan, the proud son of heaven from the deity sect who had chased after Lu Ming previously. This man was a heaven's favorite at the 9th level of the martial royal realm, and he had just launched a sneak attack. The space-time domain will also die. Shi Guan said coldly. He swept the spear of divine punishment in his hand. The air exploded violently as the spear of divine punishment shot towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming's glabella glowed and a shield appeared in front of him. At the same time, the black wings protected him. Boom! The shield was instantly blasted away. The spear of God's punishment smashed onto Lu Ming's black wings. Lu Ming's body shook violently and he was sent flying like a cannonball. Blood spurted out of Lu Ming's mouth. His opponent was too strong, and his battle prowess was shocking. Even with his saint weapon protecting him, he was still heavily injured. Kill! Shi Guan shouted coldly. His entire body was bathed in holy light. He took a step forward, and with a flash of holy light, he charged at Lu Ming. The spear of divine punishment stabbed out. The spear of divine punishment, which seemed to be able to penetrate everything in the world, was aimed at the area between Lu Ming's eyebrows. However, at this critical moment, a cold aura spread out from below, and an icy sword stabbed towards Shi Guan at a terrifying speed. Shi Guan's expression changed. This ice sword posed a fatal threat to him. He could not be bothered to continue killing Lu Ming. He turned the spear of divine punishment around and struck the ice sword. Boom! A shocking explosion was heard and a terrifying wave of fluctuation swept in all directions. With the help of this fluctuation, Lu Ming drifted back dozens of miles, his eyes cold. Just now, he had decided to use all his means to cooperate with Bubbles and fight to the death. Even if he were to die in battle, he would not let the other party have an easy time. But now, it seemed that there was no need. Cold Wave, it's you. Shi Guan's figure also retreated as he coldly shouted. At this moment, a young man appeared in front of Shi Guan. This young man was tall and handsome. He was wearing a long white robe with an ice dragon embroidered on it. Dragon God Valley, Ice Dragon Valley's disciples. So many people from the three major sects besieged 3 disciples of Dragon God Valley. Now, even you, a LV9 Martial Royal Realm expert, have made a move. Hee hee, how shameless. The young man from the Ice Dragon Valley sneered. This Lu Ming has killed many people of my deity sect. He must die. There's no need to resort to any means. Shi Guan said coldly. Hee hee, I killed many of your heavenly god sect's people. It's laughable. For so many years, has your Tianshan sect not killed enough of my Dragon God Valley's disciples? Does that mean that I have to kill every single one of your Tianshan sect's people? You can use any method. Cold Wave showed a mocking smile. Shi Guan's face darkened. Indeed, the Dragon God Valley and the Tianshan sect had never been on good terms. Killing each other was a common occurrence, but there were still certain rules. For example, the Saint Stage powerhouses of both sides would not attack each other's juniors. If they did, it would be chaotic. Han Chao, you don't need to say anything more. Today, these people must die. Shi Guan said. Whoosh! 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 At this moment, several figures flew over from all directions. There were at least a few dozen people standing behind Shi Guan. All of them were disciples of the Heavenly Gods sect. Buzz! And NBSP whoosh! On the other side, there were also people flying out. They were either filled with demonic qi or poisonous qi. They were people from the Yudu sect and the Tianyu demon sect. Chapter 1522, 1522 Chapter 1522 Monster appears boom. Tian Chui and Mo He exchanged a blow and the two of them separated. Tian Chui came to Lu Ming's side. Xuaningxin stopped as well. She came to Lu Ming's side and looked around with a grave expression. At this moment, there were at least 100 people from the deity sect, the Tianyu demonic sect, and the Yuda sect. Their vast auras rose and pressed down on Lu Ming and the others. Cold killing intent filled the void. Now, I don't even need to make a move. They're all dead. Shi Guan sneered. Do you really think there's no one in Dragon God Valley? Where are the disciples of Dragon God Valley? The Cold Wave shouted, its voice spreading far and wide. Senior brother, let me help you. I'll do it. One voice after another was heard. Then, one figure after another cut through the void and landed behind the Cold Wave. They were the disciples of Dragon God Valley. Disciples of Dragon God Valley rushed out of the crowd. Everyone, this matter was caused by the 3 people from Cloud Dragon Valley. Why should we get involved in this? Among the crowd, He stood in front of a few Dragon God Valley disciples and said. Lu Ming being surrounded by the 3 sects was exactly what he wanted. He could not wait for Lu Ming to be killed. Naturally, he did not want others to help him. Although we, the 7 valleys of the Dragon God, have some competition with each other, we must be of the same breath and branch when facing outsiders. If you're not going to make a move, get out of my way. Let's go. A disciple of the Black Dragon Valley shouted coldly and flew toward the battlefield. The other people of Dragon God Valley also flew to the battlefield. Humph. Yes' expression was unsightly as he snorted coldly and blended into the crowd. How could he make a move? Behind the Cold Wave, more than 40 Dragon God Valley disciples gathered. The aura of both sides burst out. The space was full of solemnity and the atmosphere was extremely oppressive. Frostwave, how naive you are to think that your Dragon God Valley sect can compete with our 3 sections. Well then, I'll make you all stay here today. Shi Guan's eyes revealed a cold killing intent. At the scene, the 3 sects had an absolute advantage. They could take this opportunity to kill a group of Dragon God Valley's elites and weaken the strength of Dragon God Valley. Who do you want to keep? A faint voice came from the sky. Boom. Then, a terrifying aura came from the sky and pressed down on Guan. Guan's expression changed greatly. He roared and the holy light on his body burst out with all its strength to resist this aura. However, the holy light on his body trembled rapidly, and his body could not help but retreat a few steps. He looked at the sky with an ugly expression. Zifeng. Guan roared in anger, his eyes revealing a serious expression. At this moment, everyone's eyes were also looking up at the sky. In the sky, a purple-robed young man stood with his hands behind his back. His indifferent gaze swept across the three sections. Zifeng, the number 1 genius of Dragon God Valley, one of the top 10 geniuses of the Azure region. A message appeared in Lu Ming's mind. Senior brother Zifeng. It's senior brother Zifeng. The other disciples of Dragon God Valley were overjoyed. Zifeng arrived. They knew that even if they fought today, they would not lose either. Zifeng, you want to interfere? Guan looked at Zifeng with an unsightly expression as he said. Although his battle prowess was strong, when facing Zifeng, this kind of monster-level genius from the Azure State, it was simply not enough to look at. He would most likely be able to kill him in one move. You 3 sects are ganging up to bully my Dragon God Valley. What's wrong with me interfering? Zifeng spoke indifferently, taking a step forward. Roar. A dragon's roar came from his body and the shadow of a purple dragon soared into the sky. A terrifying pressure pressed down on the disciples of the Deity Sect, Sky Demon Sect, and Yudu Sect. The expressions of the disciples from the 3 factions changed drastically. They felt as if a huge rock was pressing down on their bodies, and even their breathing became difficult. This kind of pressure. So strong, is this the combat strength of a heaven's favorite? I can't fight back at all. It's like I'm facing a Saint Realm expert. The disciples of the 3 sects were all terrified. Their combat strength was too different from Zifeng's. If they attacked, they could only be slaughtered. Zifeng, as one of the Azure Continent's top 10 monstrous talents, you actually want to make a move against these ordinary disciples. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at by others? At this moment, a domineering voice sounded. A burly figure stepped through the air and stood not far away from Zifeng. The demonic chi on his body soared to the sky. A powerful aura rushed out and crushed the aura emitted by Zifeng. The disciples of the 3 sects felt their bodies become lighter. Senior brother Mo Yang. The disciples of the Tianyu demonic sect cried out in surprise. Mo Yang, one of the 10 great monstrous geniuses, is also here. Some of the spectators gasped in shock and excitement. 2 of the top 10 demon-level geniuses of the Azure region had arrived. Could it be that the top 10 demon-level geniuses were going to make their move earlier today? The 10 great demon-level geniuses of the Azure region, aside from the time they had fought in the Azure region's treasure sealing assembly 3 years ago, each and every one of them had been cultivating in seclusion in order to suppress everyone else in this time's treasure sealing assembly. It had already been 3 years since they had fought. Everyone was very curious. After 3 years, how powerful had the top 10 geniuses become? Laughed at. Don't you think that the 3 great sects, the Heavenly God Sect, the Heavenly Universe Demonic Sect, and the Yudu Sect, are the real jokes? Generally speaking, those at the 7th level Martial Royal Realm and above are preparing for the treasure-fixing assembly and will not easily take action. The period before the assembly is the stage for the geniuses below the 7th level Martial Royal Realm. They will clash again and again. Those above the 7th level are generally not allowed to interfere. But what about you? Speaking up to here, Zifeng's gaze swept across the Heaven God Sect's 3 great sects disciples. Among these people, at least 1/3 of them were youths at the 7th rank or above. That's right. The Tianxian sect, the Tianyu demonic sect, and the Yudu sect took the lead to besiege us. They surrounded and killed 2 disciples at the 6th level and 1 at the 4th level of the Martial Emperor realm. However, they were no match for our disciples. In the end, even Shi Guan made a move and it was a sneak attack. What a joke! The cold wave also spoke coldly, full of ridicule. Shi Guan's expression was extremely ugly. Zifeng and Han Chao were right. Before the treasure sealing assembly, it was a battle between disciples below the 7th level Martial Emperor realm. Those above the 7th level would not interfere. Previously, if he had killed Lu Ming and the other 2 quickly and left, it would have been fine. However, now that he had done this, he would definitely be criticized and dissatisfied by the other sections. There were 13 top sects in the Azure continent, and they were not the only ones. This was the unspoken rule of the 13 sections. Alright, in that case, I'll see you at the treasure auction in 10 days. Let's see how strong the reserve forces of Dragon God Valley are. Mo Yang said in a domineering manner. That's right. The treasure auction will be held in 10 days. Unless Dragon God Valley retreats, I'll see how you die. Unless the Dragon God Valley doesn't participate. Hee. If that's the case, then the Dragon God Valley's treasure determining assembly can end in advance. Shi Guan coldly spoke. He knew that with the arrival of Zifeng and Mo Yang, these 2 monstrous geniuses, the battle today would definitely not happen. Because they had broken the rules first, if they really wanted to attack, other top sects would probably interfere, and even Saint Realm elders would come. Chapter 1523, 1523 Chapter 1523 Treasure Locking Party, then I'll see you in 10 days at the treasure auction. Zifeng said. Let's go. Mo Yang was the first to turn around and leave. He glared at Lu Ming and left with the people from the Tianyu demon sect. Following that, the people from the Heavenly Gods sect and the Yudu sect also left. In the blink of an eye, all the people from the 3 sects had left. The storm was over. Lu Ming, thank you for your help, Senior Brother Zifeng and Senior Brother Frost Tide. Xuaningxin, thank you, Lu Ming, Tian Chui, and Xuaningxin cupped their fists at Zifeng and Han Chao to express their gratitude. And, no need to be so polite. The 3 of you are not bad. The 3 of you can participate in this time's treasure auction. Zifeng nodded his head. Treasure auction? Lu Ming was still in a daze. Wasn't it the treasure sealing assembly? Why was there an additional treasure locking little meeting? Don't worry, Senior Brother. I was just about to participate. I'll definitely kill the 3 great sects to my heart's content. Tian Chui grinned, his eyes filled with malevolence. Xuaningxin also nodded in agreement. Let's return to the base first. Zifeng nodded his head and left, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Then, the other disciples of the Dragon God Valley flew toward the Dragon God Valley. Senior Brother, Senior Sister, what's going on with the treasure setting party? Lu Ming asked curiously on the way. The treasure auction is a sparring session between the 13 top sects before the start of the auction. The participants must be under LV7 Martial Emperor realm and below the age of 50. Tian Chui explained. In the Yuan continent, the nature of a youth was different from that of the Divine Wilderness continent. In the Divine Wilderness continent, those below the age of 30 were the younger generation. They were the golden years of cultivation. However, in Yuanlu, those below 50 were the younger generation. Because the cultivation environment in the Yuan continent was too good, many people could break through to the martial royal realm at a young age. Their lifespans reached 10,000 to 20,000 years, and their vitality was extremely vigorous. In comparison to 10 to 20,000 years, 50 years old was still the golden age of youth, the age of endless potential. In fact, those below the 7th level of the martial royal realm are considered the reserve forces of their respective sections. They will all participate in the treasure fixing assembly in 3 or 6 years. This can be considered as an observation. We can roughly see the situation of the future treasure-fixing assembly and the future strength of each major sect. The Snow Dragon explained. Lu Ming came to a realization. This could be considered a small-scale treasure-fixing assembly. Hence, it was called the treasure-fixing assembly. The 13 sects also attach great importance to the treasure settlement ceremony. The sects ranked in the last 3 are not qualified to participate in this year's treasure settlement ceremony. It's equivalent to being eliminated in advance. Therefore, each treasure settlement ceremony is also unusually tragic. Xuaningxin continued to explain. It's actually like this. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The treasure auction was directly linked to the treasure auction. Those ranked in the last 3 would not be qualified to participate in the treasure auction. This meant that only 10 sects would participate in the treasure auction at a time. Each sect will send 36 4th to 6th level martial emperors to participate. There are still 10 days left. Let's go back and cultivate. At that time, we'll kill to our heart's content. Tian Chui said. This time, he felt really aggrieved. It wasn't that he wasn't strong enough, but that the other party's opponents were all experts of a higher cultivation level, using their cultivation level to suppress others. However, there wouldn't be any experts above the 6th level martial royal realm in the treasure auction. All of you must be well prepared. This time's treasure auction may be very dangerous. The deity sect, the Tianyu demon sect, and the Yudu sect may join forces to deal with our Dragon God Valley. All of you must be well prepared. Cold Wave said. Senior brother, don't worry. I'll kill anyone I see. Tian Chui grinned, revealing his ferocity. Although your combat strength is strong, you can't underestimate your enemy. As far as I know, every sect has a heaven's favorite with an upper-class earth spiritual body, and many of them have reached the peak of the 6th level martial royal realm. Especially the Tianxin sect, they have produced many heaven's favorites over the years and are known as the #1 sect in the Azure region. They can't be underestimated. Frost Tide said. Although Han Chao cultivated the ice dragon combat body, the scholar was very easygoing. He chatted with everyone along the way. Soon, they returned to the Dragon God Valley base. As soon as they returned to the encampment, Lu Ming, Tian Chui, Xuaningxin, and the others returned to their rooms and went into seclusion to cultivate. There were still 10 days left before the treasure auction. The true dragon meat that Tian Chui had obtained back then had not been completely used up yet. During this period of time, he could increase his strength a little more. Xuaningxin's dragon crystal had not been fully digested yet, so her strength could also be improved. As for Lu Ming, he entered the mountain and river diagram after entering the room and sat cross-legged under the path understanding ancient tree. And NBSP previously, the Stone Crown's sneak attack had placed him in a life-and-death situation. At that critical moment, his potential had exploded, and his chaos domain had reached the peak of level 4, only a step away from level 5. Now, he had to continue to improve his cultivation. His cultivation was at the early stage of the 4th level martial emperor realm. Now, he was going to raise it to the peak of the 4th level martial emperor realm, which was the same as the territory. With a wave of his hand, a pile of raw gemstones appeared. Lu Ming began to devour and refine the raw gemstones. His cultivation base began to rise rapidly. 5 days later, Lu Ming's cultivation had successfully reached the peak of the 4th level martial royal realm. Lu Ming spent the rest of the time cultivating the 13 accumulated strikes under the path understanding ancient tree. Perhaps it was because of the pressure. Before the treasure auction, he had accumulated power for 13 strikes and cultivated it to the 6th level, the perfected level, which greatly increased its power. At this moment, the time for the treasure auction had arrived. There were 36 young men standing in a huge courtyard at the Dragon God Valley's encampment. They were all at the 4th to 6th level martial royal realm and were all geniuses. Most of them had inferior earth spiritual bodies. Ordinary people with spirit bodies were not qualified to participate at all. Lu Ming, Tian Shui, and Xuaningxin were also among them. In addition, Lu Ming also discovered a few familiar faces. Heyu, Blood Dragon Valley. After this period of cultivation, Silver City's cultivation had advanced to the 6th level of the martial royal realm. Heyu and Blizzard's Silver City stood together and mumbled softly, casting cold glances at Lu Ming from time to time. At this moment, an elder of the Saint Realm appeared in front of everyone. This time, the treasure auction is of great importance. I hope you will do your best to protect the honor of Dragon God Valley. The Saint Realm elder said. This disciple will definitely die without hesitation. The 36 young men and women shouted. Alright, let's have a little treasure hunt. Holy weapons can't be used. At the very best, you can only use king weapons. You should know that, right? The Saint Realm elder said. I know. Everyone replied. Good. This time, the leader of the 36 of you will be Han Sun. You will have to listen to his arrangements in the treasure auction, understand? The Saint Realm elder said. Yes. Everyone nodded. Lu Ming's gaze shifted to a young man in a white robe. This person was somewhat similar to Han Chao. He was Han Chaos' younger brother. He was extremely talented, even more so than Han Chao. He had a superior earth spiritual body and his cultivation had reached the peak of the 6th level martial emperor realm. He was considered the strongest person below the 7th level martial emperor realm in Dragon God Valley. Chapter 1524 Chapter 1524 Confrontation. After the Sage Realm Elder finished his instructions, he led everyone and flew towards the location of the treasure auction. Of course, they weren't the only ones going. Many other disciples would also go to watch. The location of the treasure settlement party was in a huge building halfway up the Tsang Mountains. The building was circular and empty. When Lu Ming and the group arrived, they saw a huge fighting ring in the middle of the building. Around the fighting ring, there were 13 huge cylindrical platforms. They were slightly higher than the fighting ring and surrounded it in the middle. Looking down from the sky, there was a number on each of the cylindrical platforms. From 1 to 13, they were arranged counterclockwise in order. On the outer side of the cylindrical platform were rows of grandstands. The terrain was slightly higher than the cylindrical platform, so those sitting on the grandstands could clearly see the situation on the fighting stage. Further out of the grandstand, there were many pavilions built at an even higher location. We participants will land on those platforms. Let's go down. Han Sun said as he descended. They didn't deliberately pick a platform and landed on the 10th platform. The Saint Realm Elder flew into a pavilion. The other Dragon God Valley disciples who had come with Lu Ming and the others landed on the stands behind the 10th platform. Your Dragon God Valley sect is early. A cold voice rang out. In the sky, holy light filled the air. The people of the Tianqian sect had arrived. The people of the Heavenly Gods sect did not hold back and directly landed on the first platform. As for the disciples of the Heavenly Gods sect who were not participating, they landed on the grandstand behind the first platform. Buzz! Buzz! And NBSP whoosh. At this time, the sound of the air being torn could be heard. In the sky, dense crowds of people were flying over. The 13 top sects arrived one after another. Each sect had 36 participating disciples who landed on the platform. The other disciples landed on the grandstand. The Tianyu demonic sect landed on the second platform. Heaven Seat King, platform number 3. Evil Moon sect, platform number 4. Desire Poison sect, platform number 5. Zhouxiao Sword sect, platform number 6. Linglong Palace, platform number 7. Platform number 8 was empty, and there were still sects that had not arrived. Intentionless Saber sect, platform number 9. The 10th platform was Dragon God Valley, and the 11th platform was Piyuan family. Platform number 12 was the Blood Demon Tower. Platform number 13 was the Demon Castle. Of the 13 top sects, there was still one sect that had not come. It was the most mysterious Life and Death Sword sect. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this time, sword lights broke through the air. The people of the Life and Death Sword sect had arrived. So few people. Lu Ming looked over and could not help being stunned. The Life and Death Sword sect had sent a total of 13 people. Excluding the old man who was leading the group, there were only 12 people in the younger generation. Buzz! And NBSP whoosh! The 12 youths of the Life and Death Sword sect landed on the 8th platform. All 13 sects had arrived. Lu Ming, the Life and Death Sword sect. Due to its strict requirements for accepting disciples, it has the least number of people. Every time they participate in the treasure auction, there are always 12 people. Sometimes, they might not even be able to gather enough people. Although they are at a disadvantage with fewer people, no one dares to look down on them. This is because every member of the Life and Death Sword sect is a genius. They cultivate the Life and Death Sword technique and are extremely powerful. Xuaningxin explained softly. Lu Ming nodded. He saw a familiar face in the Life and Death Sword sect, Luo Xiang. He had a deep impression of this person. He had stayed at the peak of the Supreme Being realm and had nurtured his sword soul for 15 years. This was an extremely terrifying person. Hee, Dragon God Valley, you really dare to come. In the Tianyu Demon sect, Mo's cold gaze fell on Dragon God Valley and Lu Ming. Isn't it better that they're here? This time, let's make everyone from Dragon God Valley stay here. One of the Heaven's Pride experts of the Tianxin sect said coldly. Holy light was faintly visible on his body, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. That's right, it's best not to leave a single one alive. In the Desire Poison sect, the young man who had intercepted Lu Ming's group earlier spoke coldly, his eyes glaring fiercely at Lu Ming's group. Strength is not something that can be determined by words. Well, know who lives and who dies later. Lu Ming said indifferently, his fists clenched slightly. This time, he would kill to his heart's content. Lu Ming, I'm going to take your life. He pointed at Lu Ming, and a ray of saber light condensed. I'm going to take your life too. Lu Ming responded indifferently. The Dragon God Valley, the Tianyu Demon sect, the Yuda sect, and the Tianxin sect were already filled with the smell of gunpowder even before the battle started. Not only them. The other sects also had their own conflicts. At this moment, they were also looking at each other with killing intent, filling the scene with a solemn atmosphere. At this time, in a courtyard of the Tianxin sect, the Son of God stood with his hands behind his back. Shi Guan stood respectfully behind the Son of God and reported the situation. I didn't expect that so many things would happen when I arrived a few days late. The people of Dragon God Valley are getting bolder and bolder. You are also useless. You can't even kill a few people who are below the 7th level of the martial royal realm. The divine child said coldly, his voice cold. If it wasn't for that kid's strangeness and his pet that can affect time and space, I would have killed him long ago. Shi Guan said. The space-time spirit rat was a legendary creature, and not everyone knew it. Even Shi Guan did not recognize it as a space-time spirit rat. A pet that can affect time and space. The Son of God's eyes suddenly turned cold, and a cold killing intent burst out of his body. Tell me, what does that kid look like? And what do his two companions look like? Is there a true dragon among them? The Son of God asked a few questions. There is indeed a true dragon, a snow dragon, and, then, the stone crown described the image and appearance of Lu Ming and the rest. It's really these kids. They dared to trick me in the Dragon Palace. The Son of God's eyes were cold. Back then, in the Dragon Palace, he had used an ancient void-sealing god talisman to suppress the black dragon's corpse. However, someone had sabotaged the ancient talisman and allowed the black dragon to escape. All his efforts were in vain. He had always wanted to find out who the person who secretly did it was. Now, he knew that it was Lu Ming. If it was not Lu Ming, who else could it be that could affect time and space? You reckless fool. Where is he now? I'll go and kill him. The Son of God's body emitted a cold killing intent. Divine Son, that Lu Ming should be participating in the treasure auction. The 13 top sects are gathered here. If we attack now, I'm afraid it will incur the wrath of the other sects. Shi Guan hurriedly said. Then, it won't be too late to kill him after the treasure auction. After saying that, the Son of God took a step forward and disappeared. At the venue of the treasure auction, the smell of gunpowder was getting stronger and stronger. At that moment, an old man appeared in the fighting ring. This old man was dressed in white. He was a Saint Realm elder of the Divine Sky sect. In the past few years, the strength of the Tianshan sect had become stronger and stronger. They had already won first place in 2 consecutive treasure-fixing conventions. Even in the small treasure-fixing conventions, the Tianshan sect had won first place twice. The Tianshan sect had already announced that they wanted to win 3 consecutive championships. Regardless of whether it was the General Assembly or the Small Assembly, they wanted to obtain first place. Chapter 1525, 1525 Working together against Dragon God Valley. Since our sect won first place last time, I'll be in charge this time, and the elders will supervise. The voice of the Sage Realm Elder of the Heaven God sect spread across the entire place. He looked around and said, I believe that most of you already know the rules of the competition, but I'd like to repeat them again. You are divided into 13 platforms. Except for the Life and Death Sword sect, each sect has 36 people. The rules of the competition are very simple. First, the Deity sect on the first platform will send one person to the fighting stage. He can challenge anyone from any sect. The competition will end when one of them is killed or thrown off the fighting stage. The winner will return to the platform and wait for others to challenge him. After the first platform, it's the second platform's sect's turn to send out a challenger. They can also challenge anyone from any sect until one person is defeated. Just like that, it's the third platform's turn to send someone to challenge, followed by the fourth platform, all the way to the 13th platform. That's one round. At least 13 people will be eliminated in one round. In theory, there will be a total of 36 rounds. Do you understand? The Sage Realm Elder of the Heavenly God sect shouted. Understood. Everyone responded. Remember, you are not allowed to admit defeat during the challenge. You can only fall off the battle stage or be killed for the competition to end. This will continue until the last person from a sect is eliminated. The first 3 sects to be eliminated will be the last 3 and will not have the chance to participate in this year's treasure-fixing assembly. The Saint Realm Elder explained again, making many people clench their fists. No matter what, they couldn't become the last 3, otherwise, their own sect wouldn't even have the qualifications to participate in the treasure-fixing assembly. How shameful would that be? In the end, there will only be one sect left with people. The sect that perseveres to the end will receive a reward. The reward this time is the Royal Domain Pill, 7 Royal Domain Pills. As soon as he said that, the scene was in an uproar. What? The reward this time is so generous, it's actually the Royal Domain Pill, and there are 7 of them. What a great deal! Many people exclaimed. Lu Ming's eyes were burning with passion. As the name suggested, the Royal Domain Pill was made with the Royal Domain Fruit as the main ingredient. It was said that one Royal Domain Pill required 9 Royal Domain Fruits in addition to other precious materials. A Royal Fruit could help a low-level Royal break through one level of cultivation. A Royal Domain Pill could allow a mid-tier or even a high-tier Royal to break through one level of cultivation. How precious was this? To mid-rank Emperor-level experts like them, it was a fatal attraction. This was especially so for Lu Ming. It was too difficult for him to improve his chaos domain. However, if he had the royal domain pill, it would greatly reduce the time he needed to break through. The most important thing is that saint weapons are not allowed in this competition. Anyone who uses a saint weapon will be killed without mercy. Alright, that's all for the rules. Let's begin. The Sage Realm Elder of the Heavenly God sect announced. Then, he turned around and returned to a pavilion. Alright, since my deity sect is standing on the first platform, then my deity sect will be the first to send out a person to fight. Well, use the brick to lead the jade. On the first platform, a white-robed young man spoke. Obviously, this person was the leader of the Heavenly God sect. Every sect would arrange a team leader to be in charge of adjusting the tactics at any time. The white-robed young man then pointed to a young man and said, "You can go up and act according to the plan." Yes. The young man nodded, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. He took a step forward and appeared on the fighting ring. The man looked around and finally fixed his eyes on the 10th platform and the people of Dragon God Valley. "You, come down and accept your death." The young man from the Tianxian sect pointed at a young man in the LV4 Martial Royal Realm from the Dragon God Valley. He was indeed challenging Dragon God Valley. Everyone's heart moved. Dragon God Valley and Tianxian sect had always been at odds with each other. In addition to the incident with Lu Ming and the others, it was inevitable that Tianxian sect would target Dragon God Valley. "I'm not afraid of you, let's go," the young man from the Dragon God Valley said. He took a step forward and rushed to the fighting ring. The two of them stood opposite each other. Kill! Kill! Almost at the same time, the two of them charged at each other and their palms slammed together. Bang! The young man from the Dragon God Valley was shocked. He retreated and spat out a mouthful of blood. Not good. The opponent is at the peak of the 5th level Martial Monarch realm. Damn it! Someone from the Dragon God Valley roared. Kill! The young man from the Tianxian sect gained the upper hand in one move. He took a step forward and rushed toward the young man from the Dragon God Valley like a white lightning. A spear of divine punishment appeared and stabbed toward the young man from the Dragon God Valley at an amazing speed. Retreat! The young man from Dragon God Valley retreated. He had realized that he was no match for the young man. He could only save his life by retreating from the fighting ring. You can't escape, die. The young man from the Heaven God sect had a cold look in his eyes. Holy light burst out from his body, and the speed of the spear of divine punishment suddenly increased. Gucci! The spear of divine punishment pierced through the youth's dantian and nailed him to the fighting ring. Then, the spear flicked the body of the youth from Dragon God Valley off the fighting ring. His storage ring had been taken away by his opponent. You're really a piece of trash. The young man from the Heavenly God sect sneered and returned to the first platform. Detestable. Someone from Dragon God Valley growled. Immediately, someone went down and carried the body of the youth from Dragon God Valley away. Dragon God Valley, this is just the beginning. Next, you will all die on this fighting stage. The leader of the Heavenly God sect said coldly. Humph. Just wait and see. Han Sun's eyes were cold as he snorted. On the first platform, Tianxian sect's challenge had ended. Next up was the second platform's Tianyu Demon sect. A young man from the Tianyu Demonic sect stepped onto the fighting ring. His cold eyes fell on the disciples of Dragon God Valley. You, get down here. The young man from the Tianyu Demonic sect pointed at a LV4 Martial Emperor Realm young man from Dragon God Valley. The Tianyu Demon sect is challenging us too. It seems that the Tianxian sect and the Tianyu Demon sect have joined forces to deliberately target our Dragon God Valley. This guy's cultivation is also at the 5th level of the Martial Royal Realm, but he's challenging us, who are at the 4th level. someone in the Dragon God Valley said in a serious voice. Buzz. The young man from Dragon God Valley jumped onto the fighting ring and stared at his opponent with a serious look. Kill. The young man from the Tianyu Demon sect shouted and rushed toward the young man from the Dragon God Valley. The aura of the peak LV5 martial royal realm exploded. The young man from Dragon God Valley didn't dare to take it head-on, so he rushed to the side. You can't escape, Phantom Steps. The young man from the Tianyu demonic sect appeared in front of the young man from the Dragon God Valley in the next moment. He unsheathed his demonic saber, and demonic chi filled the air. Roar. The young man from Dragon God Valley let out an angry roar and used all his strength to attack his opponent. However, the difference in cultivation was too great. It was an entire level. Moreover, it was obvious that the other party had planned this. The young men they sent out were all very powerful. Chapter 1526, 1526 Lu Ming's Plan, Splitting Devil Blade. The young man from the Tianyu demonic sect slashed out with his demonic blade, and the terrifying blade light seemed to be able to split everything. Puchi. The young man from Dragon God Valley was cut in half. Dragon God Valley had lost another person. This was just the beginning, and 2 people had already been killed. Detestable. Many young men from Dragon God Valley growled and clenched their hands. Then, someone went up and carried the body of the young man from Dragon God Valley. The young man from the Tianyu demonic sect left the fighting ring. Next, it was the third platform's turn. The Heaven Seat King issued a challenge. The Heaven Seat King sent out a 4th-level Martial Royal Realm Heaven's favorite to challenge a 4th-level Martial Royal Realm Heaven's favorite from the Intentionless Saber sect. The 2 of them were evenly matched. After exchanging more than 100 moves, the Heaven Seat King's Heaven's favorite was slightly better and blasted the Intentionless Saber sect's Heaven's favorite off the fighting ring. Next, the 4th platform, the Evil Moon sect, began their challenge. The Evil Moon sect had directly sent a 5th-level Martial Emperor to challenge a 4th-level Martial Emperor from the Piyuan family and killed him. These 2 forces originally had enmity, and now both sides were truly angered. Following that, it was the 5th platform, where the Yudu sect issued a challenge. A young man from the Yudu sect leaped onto the fighting stage and his gaze fell directly on the Dragon God Valley side. You, come down. The young man from the Yudu sect pointed at a youth from the Dragon God Valley who was at the LV4 Martial Emperor realm. Many people in the Dragon God Valley looked terrible. Then, he challenged Dragon God Valley. The young man from Dragon God Valley went up to the fighting ring with an ugly expression, then quickly retreated. The other party was also a LV5 Martial Royal Realm expert. The young man from Dragon God Valley knew that he was no match for him, so he could only escape first. Unfortunately, the young man from the Yudu sect was very powerful. He had shrouded the fighting ring with poisonous gas and poisoned the young man from Dragon God Valley to death. Another person died in Dragon God Valley. Hee hee. Sneers could be heard coming from the Heavenly God sect. Many young men from the Tianxin sect, the Tianyu demonic sect, and the Yudu sect looked at the Dragon God Valley sect with hostility. Dragon God Valley is in trouble. Obviously, the Tianxin sect, the Tianyu demon sect, and the Yudu sect are joining forces to deal with Dragon God Valley. That's right. If the 3 clans join forces to challenge one clan, Dragon God Valley will most likely be in trouble. I'm afraid it will be difficult for them to enter the top 10. Moreover, I don't know how many people will be killed. At this rate, not many people from Dragon God Valley will survive. Many people from the various sects were discussing. Damn it! Many of the young men from Dragon God Valley roared in anger. There were even dragon roars, and their bodies were full of murderous intent. The Dragon God Valley disciples on the platform and in the stands behind were all furious. This is too much. Counterattack. We must counterattack. When it's our turn, we must fight back. Many people's true yuan burst out, revealing cold killing intent. It's all because of Lu Ming and the others. They're the ones who provoked the three major sects, the deity sect, the Tianyu demon sect, and the Yudu sect. Otherwise, how could our Dragon God Valley be targeted? A cold voice was heard among the people of Dragon God Valley. You. Lu Ming's gaze turned slightly cold. That's right. It's all because of Lu Ming and the others that our Dragon God Valley has fallen into such a desperate situation. Lu Ming and the other two have to take full responsibility. Such people should have been driven out of Dragon God Valley a long time ago. Otherwise, how could today's matter have happened? Blizzard's Silver City also coldly spoke. Shut up. We should be thinking of a way to fight back, not an internal conflict. Han Sun coldly rebuked. Yu and Yincheng were afraid of Han Sun, so they just sneered but didn't say anything. This won't do. If this goes on, I might be in danger too. I must think of a way to save myself. Yes' eyes turned as thoughts ran through his mind. The competition continued. The sixth platform, Zhouxiao Sword Sect. The swordsman of Zhouxiao Sword Sect glanced at Dragon God Valley. In the end, he did not challenge Dragon God Valley, but chose the Blood Demon Tower. The seventh platform, the eighth platform. One by one. Soon, it was the 10th platform's turn for the Dragon God Valley challenge. The Dragon God Valley could finally launch a counterattack. Han Sun was preparing to send an expert to kill one of the disciples of the Tianshan sect to restore some morale. However, at that moment, a figure suddenly rushed out and landed on the platform. It was Yu. What are you doing? Han Sun roared. Before he could make any arrangements, Yu had already rushed out. Moreover, Yu was only at LV for Martial Emperor realm. What was the point of rushing out? Yu sneered but did not say anything. He didn't want to sit and wait for his death. He was a LV4 Martial Royal Realm martial artist. If he stayed on the platform, he would most likely be chosen by the deity sect, the Sky Demon sect, and the Yudu sect in the next round of challenges. He didn't want to die. His gaze shifted and landed on the 13th platform, where the demon castle was. Brother, how about we have a spar? Yu looked at a young man from the monster castle. Damn it, why did Yu challenge the monster castle? The demon castle has a good relationship with Dragon God Valley. Some disciples of Dragon God Valley growled. The young man from Demon Castle was also slightly stunned. He didn't expect Yu to challenge him. Everyone thought that Dragon God Valley would fight back and send experts to challenge the people of Deity Sect, Sky Demon Sect, or Yudu Sect. The young man from the Demon Castle stepped onto the fighting ring and began his battle with Yu. The young man from the Demon Fort had a similar combat strength to Yu. After dozens of moves, Yu was at a disadvantage and was blasted off the fighting ring. You're afraid of death. Lu Ming said indifferently. The other people of Dragon God Valley also looked angry. Everyone could tell that Yu was afraid of death. He was afraid of being challenged by the three sects if he stayed on the platform. Therefore, he went up to challenge the Demon Castle, which had a good relationship with Dragon God Valley. Moreover, in a situation where the two of them were about the same strength, Yu was defeated after dozens of moves. It was obvious that he had lost on purpose. In this way, he, who had lost, would be considered eliminated. Naturally, he would not be challenged by the other sections. I think junior brother Yu is right. Why should he be responsible for the mistakes of others? Blizzard's Silver City said coldly. He even cast a cold glance at Lu Ming. His words made the eyes of some of the Dragon God Valley disciples light up. Alright, all of you shut up. Han Sun shouted coldly. He was extremely angry. As the leader of the Dragon God Valley team, he felt helpless in such a situation. At this moment, Lu Ming stepped forward and stood in front of Han Sun. Senior brother Han Sun, Lu Ming has a plan to avenge Dragon God Valley. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said. What's your plan? Han Sun's eyes lit up. On the side, the other people of Dragon God Valley also looked over curiously. Immediately, Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Han Sun and told him about his plan. Junior brother Lu, are you confident? Han Sun said with a serious expression. I'm sure. This is the only way for Dragon God Valley to counterattack. It's the only way to minimize our losses. Lu Ming said. Chapter 1527, 1527 Challenging Lu Ming. Han Sun frowned, pondered for a moment, and then nodded. Alright, let's do that. Han Sun's eyes became extremely serious as he glanced at all the disciples of Dragon God Valley on the platform and said, in the following matches, everyone has to listen to my arrangements. If anyone acts like you and makes decisions on their own, they will be punished according to the sect rules. Don't blame me for not showing any mercy. Yes, senior brother. Many people's hearts trembled, and they nodded in agreement. Senior brother, what is the plan? Why don't you tell us? Blizzard Silver City coldly said. You'll know when the time comes. Now, you just have to follow the arrangements. Han Sun's eyes swept across the Silver Blizzard City with a trace of coldness. Blizzard Silver City's face slightly sank, but he didn't say anything. You lost. Instead of returning to the platform, he went to the stands behind the platform and the competition continued. Platform number 11, platform number 12, platform number 13. When the Demon Castle Challenge on platform number 13 ended, the first round of challenges officially ended. In the first round, the true experts did not make a move. Most of the people sent out were not very strong. Only Dragon God Valley suffered heavy losses as they were targeted by the three major sections. In one round, 3 died and 1 was defeated, losing 4 people. As for the Heaven God sect and the Life and Death Sword sect, no one had challenged them. Currently, in the Tsang region, the Tianxin sect had a faint trend of being the number 1. Their strength was formidable, and the other sects had some apprehensions. Although the Life and Death Sword sect had a small number of people, their individual strength was extremely shocking. Every disciple of the Life and Death Sword sect could not be underestimated. Moreover, the Life and Death Sword sect's Life and Death Sword art would decide life and death every time it was used. It was a killing technique, and no one would not be afraid of it. After the first round, there were a few sects that did not suffer any losses, such as the Deity sect, the Sky Demon sect, the Desire Poison sect, and the Life and Death Sword sect. The first round had ended, and the second round was coming up. In the second round, the first platform was once again used. The Heaven God sect began to send people to challenge. There was no doubt that the Tianxin sect had sent another expert to challenge a weaker disciple of the Dragon God Valley and killed him in the fighting ring. Then, the Tianyu demonic sect used the same trick and killed another person from Dragon God Valley. When it was the Yudu sect's turn, he would kill one person from Dragon God Valley. The atmosphere in the Dragon God Valley was getting more and more depressing. It seems that Dragon God Valley will be the first one to be eliminated. That's right, and many of them will be killed. Many of the Heaven's Pride experts in this batch will die. It's a great loss. The surrounding cultivators from the other sects began to shake their heads and sigh. The challenges continued. One by one, it was Dragon God Valley's turn. Wang Fei, you go. Don't challenge the Deity sect, the Sky Demon sect, or the Desire Poison sect. You can choose any of the other sections. Pick one that's about as strong as you. Treat it as training. Han Sun pointed at a young man. Choose Wang Fei. The other people of Dragon God Valley looked at Han Sun in surprise. Now, wasn't it their turn to counterattack? Shouldn't they send out an expert to kill one of the experts from the Heavenly Divine sect? Why did they send Wang Fei? Wang Fei's cultivation was only at the 4th level of the martial royal realm. He was considered weak among the remaining people of Dragon God Valley. Moreover, he was not allowed to challenge the three major sects of the Tianqian sect. The others were very surprised. Wang Fei himself was also stunned. Go. Han Sun spoke again. Yes. Wang Fei nodded and flew up to the fighting ring. He chose someone from the intentionless saber sect whose cultivation was similar to Wang Fei's. The two of them fought intensely. After exchanging more than 100 moves, Wang Fei was thrown off the fighting ring. Dragon God Valley? What does that mean? I don't understand. It's finally my turn, but instead of sending an expert to fight back, they sent a weakling to challenge the other sections. I really don't understand what Dragon God Valley is trying to do. It's simple. Dragon God Valley was forced to give up the opportunity to fight back and protect the weaker disciples. Otherwise, they would be killed by the three major sects. Yes, that's true. Many people discussed and understood Dragon God Valley's approach. In this way, at least some people in Dragon God Valley could be saved. It's really sad to use this method. Then we'll eliminate Dragon God Valley first, so that they can't even participate in the treasure-fixing assembly. The leader of the Heavenly God sect sneered. Ha, that's right. This time, I heard that Dragon God Valley is well prepared and wants to win first place in the treasure-fixing assembly. I wonder what kind of scene it will be if they can't even participate in the treasure-fixing assembly. On the grandstand, some of the Heaven's Pride experts of the Tianqian sect who were at the LV7 Martial Royal Realm and above laughed mockingly. On the grandstand of Dragon God Valley, some geniuses above the 7th level of the Martial Royal Realm looked gloomy and ugly. On the 10th platform, Lu Ming was the only one with a calm expression. Just wait, the counterattack will begin soon. Lu Ming muttered in his heart. The competition continued, and soon, the second round was over. Dragon God Valley was still the most miserable sect, with 3 deaths and 1 defeat. After 2 rounds, 6 people had died and 2 had failed. Of the 36 people, only 28 remained. The third round began. Just like the last time, the Tianqian sect, the Tianyu demon sect, and the Yudu sect all sent their experts to challenge the weak ones of the Dragon God Valley. They came prepared. Although the youth of the Dragon God Valley rushed down from the fighting stage the moment he made his move, the person sent by his opponent was much stronger than them. With a killing intent, he killed 3 more people from the Dragon God Valley. When it was Dragon God Valley's turn, Han Sun sent a weak disciple to challenge other sections. He was defeated after a few rounds, but he managed to survive. Soon, the third round was over. In Dragon God Valley, 9 people were killed and 3 were defeated. A total of 12 people were eliminated. At this point, the 4th level martial emperors of Dragon God Valley were either dead or defeated. Lu Ming was the only one who was still at the 4th level. Everyone in the Dragon God Valley looked terrible and the atmosphere was heavy. Arg! Damn it, Han Sun, why didn't we send out experts to counterattack? Next round, send me. I want to kill these sons of bitches. Tian Chui brandished his huge hammer, constantly roaring in anger, extremely anxious. Lu Ming and Han Sun's faces were cold and they did not say a word. Xuaningxin cast a glance at Lu Ming, deep in thought. Next, the 4th round began. It was still the Tianqian sect's turn to issue a challenge. Buzz! On the first platform, a figure leaped onto the fighting ring. Boom! A powerful aura burst out from this person. 6th level Martial Emperor Realm. The Tianqian sect began to send out their LV6 Martial Royal Realm experts because almost all the remaining people in Dragon God Valley were above the LV5 Martial Royal Realm. The man had an arrogant look on his face. He swept his gaze across the room and eventually fixed it on Lu Ming. He sneered, Lu Ming, get down here and accept your death. You're challenging me? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Lu Ming, kill. Kill this bastard. Tian Chui roared. Don't worry, Lu Ming said. He took a step forward and appeared on the fighting ring. Lu Ming, you're really audacious. You've killed the people of my Tianqin sect time and time again. The young man from the Heavenly Gods sect glared at Lu Ming coldly. He did not even bother to hide his cold killing intent. Chapter 1528, 1528 Chapter 1528 One Punch. Very soon, the number of people from the Heavenly Gods sect who will die by my hands will increase by 1. Lu Ming said coldly. Ha, what a joke. Lu Ming, I know you're quite powerful, but you're mostly relying on your holy weapon. Now that you can't use your holy weapon, how much power can you unleash? I'm a LV6 martial emperor, so killing you will be as easy as turning my hand. The young man from the Heavenly Gods sect laughed out loud. The aura on his body was getting stronger and stronger, more and more shocking. Without a doubt, this young man from the Tianqin sect was definitely a powerful Heaven's Pride expert. He had cultivated a medium-grade earth spiritual body and was extremely powerful. Among the many Heaven's Pride experts in the Tianqin sect, he was also at the top. His talent was not inferior to Shi Tian. With his combat strength, it was a piece of cake for him to fight someone of a higher level. Moreover, Lu Ming was only at the 4th level of the Martial Emperor realm. He was 120% confident that he could kill Lu Ming without using his holy weapon. Nonsense. Attack. Use your full strength. Lu Ming said indifferently. Since you're in a hurry to die, I'll send you on your way. Kill. The paragon of the Tianqin sect burst out with dazzling holy light. A spear of divine punishment condensed in his palm. The spear of divine punishment pierced through the void and stabbed toward Lu Ming. The terrifying sharpness whistled between heaven and earth, as if it could penetrate everything in the world. The paragon of the Tianqin sect had used a killing move as soon as he made his move. He wanted to kill Lu Ming in one move. Roar. A dragon's roar came from Lu Ming's body. Then, he wrapped his fist in the chaos domain and threw a punch. The prison-suppressing heavenly art was unleashed. This punch was aimed at the opponent's spear of God punishment. How dare you use your fist against my spear of God's punishment? You're courting death. Break. The heaven deity sect's paragon shouted coldly. On the platform, many of the people from the heavenly god sect sneered. However, the next moment, their sneers froze on their faces. Boom! Lu Ming's fist landed on the spear of God's punishment, which exploded instantly. Lu Ming's fist, like a piece of rotten wood, smashed towards his opponent. No, no, the other party's pupils enlarged and he shouted in fear. He had thought that he could kill Lu Ming in one move and had not even set up any defense. It was too late to do so now. Bang! Lu Ming's fist landed on the young man from the deity sect. His body exploded into pieces. He was dead. The Heaven's Pride of the Tianqin sect, a LV6 martial royal realm expert, was killed by Lu Ming with one punch. You're just a piece of trash, Lu Ming said disdainfully. He stretched out his hand and sucked the storage ring of the genius of the deity sect into his hand. Good kill. Tian Chui excitedly shouted. Good, good, kill, you should be killed. The other disciples of Dragon God Valley shouted one after another. Their faces were red with excitement. The anger in their chest was finally relieved. After the challenge, they had finally killed a person from the Tianqin sect. Moreover, he was a 6th-level martial royal realm expert who had cultivated a medium earth spiritual body. They had finally vented their anger. Damn it, it's this Lu Ming again. On the side of the heavenly divine sect, many people were furious. Leave this Lu Ming to me. I want him to die an ugly death. Lu Quan was just careless just now. Leave Lu Ming to me. The other heaven's favorites from the heavenly god sect roared. Alright, I'll be waiting. All of you, come and challenge me. Lu Ming looked in the direction of the Heaven Deity sect with an extremely cold gaze. Then, he swept his gaze over the Tianyu Demon sect and the Yudu sect. Let's just wait and see. The counterattack of Dragon God Valley was about to begin. Lu Ming moved and returned to the fighting ring. Let's continue. The leader of the Tianshan sect shouted as he looked at the Tianyu demonic sect. Don't worry. The outcome of Dragon God Valley is already decided. The leader of the Tianyu demonic sect sneered and sent an expert to challenge a LV5 Martial Royal Realm expert from Dragon God Valley. The 5th level Martial Royal Realm Heaven's favorite of Dragon God Valley was also very powerful. He tried his best to rush down the fighting ring, but he was almost killed by his opponent at the edge of the fighting ring. Then, it was the Yudu sect's turn. Dragon God Valley had another person killed. One by one, the sects took their turn. On the 8th platform, the Life and Death Sword sect issued a challenge. Until now, the Life and Death Sword sect had not lost a single person. Buzz! A sword light flashed, and a figure appeared on the fighting ring. This person was someone Lu Ming had met in the Emperor Tsang's secret realm, Luo Xiang. Luo Xiang's eyes turned and finally landed on the platform of the Tianshan sect. He looked at a man at the 6th level of the Martial Royal Realm and said, "You, fight me." Many people's hearts moved. The Life and Death Sword sect was actually challenging the Heavenly Divine sect. The Heaven's Pride expert of the Heaven Gods sect who was challenged stepped onto the fighting ring with a slightly gloomy face. Make your move. He sized up Luo Xiang and said. You attack first, or you won't have a chance. Luo Xiang said indifferently. Arrogant, let's see what you can do, die. The Heaven God sect's paragon shouted coldly. The spear of divine punishment appeared and pierced towards Luo Xiang. Buzz! A sword light flashed from Luo Xiang's hand. Fast, it was too fast. Almost no one could see how Luo Xiang had attacked. The sword light flashed in the void. In the next moment, Luo Xiang's sword returned to its sheath. You, the Heaven's Pride expert of the Heavenly Gods sect, widened his eyes and stared at Luo Xiang unwillingly. Then, his body was split into two. He was dead. A 6th level Martial Royal Realm Heaven's favorite of the Heavenly Gods sect had been killed by Luo Xiang with a single sword strike. So powerful. Is this the sword technique of the Life and Death Sword sect? It's so terrifying. That Luo Xiang is only at LV5 Martial Emperor Realm. Many people exclaimed in admiration, and even more people felt chills all over their bodies. How could he dodge such a sword? This Luo Xiang is indeed not simple. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with surprise. He had heard that Luo Xiang had been cultivating his sword soul for 15 years at Jizuan Realm Pinnacle, but he hadn't made a breakthrough. Such a person was extremely terrifying. Now, Luo Xiang had made a breakthrough and obtained the inheritance of Sword Principle in the Great Emperor's secret realm. He had truly soared to the sky. In a short period of time, his cultivation had soared to the LV5 Martial Royal Realm, and he had even killed a Heaven's favorite of the Tianshan sect with one strike. Such a person would become more and more terrifying the longer it took him to break through to the Martial Emperor realm. Back in Emperor Tsang's secret realm, Luo Xiang had just broken through to the Martial Royal Realm and his potential had yet to be unleashed. Now, he was truly terrifying. Luo Xiang, my Heavenly God sect has never offended your Life and Death Sword sect. Why did you kill my people? The leader of the Heavenly God sect asked with a cold face. It's simple, I don't like the sight of you guys. Luo Xiang said indifferently, then stepped out and returned to the platform of the Life and Death Sword sect. Good kill, I'm starting to like this Luo Xiang. Tian Chui grinned. The competition continued, and when it was Dragon God Valley's turn, Han Sun sent out the person with the lowest cultivation to challenge the other sect's geniuses, and was defeated. Soon, the 4th round was over. In this round, Dragon God Valley had 2 deaths, 1 defeat, and 1 victory. There were still 21 people left. However, the people from Dragon God Valley were getting stronger and stronger. As expected, from the 5th round onwards, Dragon God Valley was no longer being killed blindly. They had the power to resist. Chapter 1529, 1529 Chapter 1529 Slaying another Heaven's favorite. From the 5th round onwards, the survival rate of the Dragon God Valley team was getting higher and higher. Although the Tianshan sect, the Tianyu demonic sect, and the Yudis sect still sent out their experts to challenge the weak ones of the Dragon God Valley, it had become difficult to kill the elites of the Dragon God Valley. In the 5th round, one person successfully rushed off the fighting stage and saved his life. The other two almost rushed off the fighting stage, but they were still killed. In this round, 2 people from Dragon God Valley died and 2 were defeated. There were 17 people left. No one challenged Lu Ming in this round. It seemed that they were not confident and wanted to challenge him later. In the 6th round, although Dragon God Valley was still completely defeated, all of them managed to keep their lives. Although the 3 sides of the Tianshan sect wanted to kill the people of Dragon God Valley, they were all pushed off the fighting stage by them. The atmosphere in the Dragon God Valley was finally a little better. After this round, there were only 13 people left from Dragon God Valley. Apart from the Life and Death Sword sect, the Dragon God Valley sect had the least number of people. It had only been 6 rounds, and many of the other sects still had around 30 people left. Some even had 20 or so people, close to 30. As for the Tianshan sect and the Tianyu demonic sect, they only had around 30 people left. Their losses were very small. Then, 2 more rounds passed. There were only 5 people left on the side of Dragon God Valley. They were Lu Ming, Han Sun, Tian Chui, Xuaningxin, and another person named Ziyu. After so many rounds, no one had challenged Tian Chui or Xuaningxin. In the battle 10 days ago, Tian Chui and Xuaningxin had revealed their terrifying combat strength. To be able to fight against heaven's favorites like Mo He and Wu Qiandu, their combat strength was undoubtedly extremely strong. It was normal that they had not been challenged before. By now, 8 rounds had passed. From the 9th round onwards, the faces of the people from the Heaven Deity sect started to turn ugly. None of the remaining 5 people from Dragon God Valley were weak. They did not know who to challenge. I'm going to kill Lu Ming. A young man at the 6th level of the martial royal realm stepped out and flew up to the fighting ring. Lu Ming, come out. The young man at the peak of the 6th level martial royal realm of the Divine Sky sect condensed a spear of divine punishment in his hand and pointed it at Lu Ming. Just what I wanted. Lu Ming smiled coldly. He took a step forward and landed on the fighting ring. Buzz! 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 Light curtains appeared around the paragon of the Tianshan sect, and even an emperor's spiritual weapon armor appeared. It was obvious that this person had learned his lesson and had set up layers of defense on himself from the beginning. I'm a lot more careful, but I still have to die. Lu Ming said. You're the one who's going to die. Kill, die. The Heaven God sect's paragon shouted. He took a step forward and turned into a beam of holy light, rushing toward Lu Ming. Whoosh! The spear of divine punishment streaked across the sky, making a terrifying whistling sound. Boom! Lu Ming threw a punch and it collided with the spear of divine punishment. There was a huge explosion. Lu Ming did not move, but the other party retreated a few steps. Your combat strength is only a so-so. Lu Ming smiled faintly. I'm not done yet, you're courting death. The other party shouted angrily. A milky white book flew out from his brow. This book was an emperor's spiritual weapon. As the book was flipped open, rays of white light flew out and landed on the Heaven God sect's paragon. The aura of the Heaven God sect's paragon became stronger. A real, milky white spear appeared in his hand. He thrust the spear forward, and the power this time was much stronger than the last time. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming threw a few punches in succession. The terrifying fist force traversed the void and blasted toward the other party. His opponent's long spear continued to thrust out, turning into terrifying spears of divine punishment. They collided with Lu Ming's fist force, causing a terrible boom to erupt on the fighting ring. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had exchanged more than 10 moves. That Lu Ming is so powerful. He's at the peak of the 4th level martial royal realm, but he can fight against a heaven's favorite at the peak of the 6th level martial royal realm. It's indeed terrifying. However, Lu Ming's cultivation is 2 whole levels lower. In my opinion, he'll definitely lose. Not necessarily. The person from the deity sect has a medium-grade earth spiritual body, while Lu Ming obviously has a superior-grade earth spiritual body. The surrounding crowd discussed. Die, die. The combat strength of the prodigy of the Tianqian sect was getting more and more violent. He kept pouring his attacks on Lu Ming. Has this reached your limit? Then, let's end this. Lu Ming said coldly. Boom. Lu Ming's fist momentum seemed to be able to penetrate the void. In an instant, it shattered the spears of God's punishment that were thrust out by the prodigies of the Tianqian sect. Bang! Following that, Lu Ming took a step forward and threw a punch that destroyed everything. He landed a heavy blow on the other party's chest. His energy surged and broke through several layers of the other party's defense in a row. It then landed on the other party's armor. The armor shook and the Heaven's God Sect's paragon was sent flying. He slid on the fighting stage for a long distance and spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. Earlier on, Lu Ming did not use his full strength at all. At this moment, Lu Ming was using his full strength. Although the other party's cultivation was 2 levels higher than his, Lu Ming's spirit body and chaos domain were much more powerful than the other party's spirit body and chaos domain. He could completely make up for the gap between the 2 levels of cultivation. The heaven deity sect's paragon was shocked and furious. He did not expect Lu Ming to be so powerful. Die! Lu Ming took a step forward and approached the other party at a high speed. I have an emperor's spiritual weapon to protect me. You can't kill me. The heaven god sect's paragon let out a long cry and retreated rapidly. Is that so? Lu Ming sneered. An emperor's spiritual weapon spear appeared in his hand. Whoosh! The long spear pierced towards the other party. 13 charged strikes. The terrifying spear radiance destroyed the opponent's counterattack and stabbed into the opponent's armor. It's useless, the other party shouted, but in the next moment, his expression changed drastically, and there was only fear. The tip of Lu Ming's long spear had 13 layers of attack power. They stacked and exploded in an instant, erupting with a terrifying penetrating power. The fearsome penetrative force pierced through the opponent's emperor's spiritual weapon armor, and the long spear pierced through the opponent's heart. Buzz! Then, with a shake of the spear, the land of destruction erupted. The spiritual god of the other party disappeared before it could escape. The heaven's god sect's paragon was dead. CSI. Gasps could be heard at the scene. A heaven's favorite at the peak of the 6th level martial royal realm who had cultivated a medium-grade earth spiritual body was killed by Lu Ming. The prodigy of the Tianqian sect wanted to kill Lu Ming, but he was killed by Lu Ming again. This kind of heaven's pride expert was the peak existence even among all the people who participated in this time's treasure auction, except for those top heaven's pride experts who cultivated superior earth spiritual bodies. However, a superior earth spiritual body was extremely rare. There were not many of them in the entire Azure region. Each of the 13 top sects participating in the party had at most 1 or 2 disciples. Some of the sects didn't even have one. It could be said that Lu Ming's combat strength was already at the peak among the participants of the treasure auction. Many people were guessing whether Lu Ming could compete with those who had superior Earth spiritual bodies and were at the peak of the 6th level martial royal realm. Chapter 1530, 1530 The counterattack begins, good kill. Tian Chui was naturally incomparably excited. It was the same for the people of Dragon God Valley. Up until now, the Tianshan sect had lost 3 6th-level martial royal realm geniuses. Lu Ming had killed 2 and Luo Xiang had killed 1. Damn it, this Lu Ming, damn it. Someone in the Heavenly Divine sect shouted angrily. There were not many Heaven's favorites with medium-grade Earth spiritual body in the Tianshan sect. Now, Lu Ming had killed several of them. It was a great loss. Lu Ming kept his spoils of war and returned to the platform. Next, it was the Tianyu demonic sect's turn to challenge. I'll do it. A person from the Tianyu demonic sect stepped out. It's him, Mo He. Mo He is going to personally take action. Who will he challenge? Many people were shocked. Mo He was the top genius of the Tianyu demon sect. He had an upper-class Earth spiritual body and was at the peak of LV's 6 martial royal realm. He had the potential to become one of the top 10 geniuses of the Azure continent. He was definitely powerful. The top 10 geniuses of the Azure region all had superior Earth spiritual bodies. In theory, as long as one successfully cultivated a superior Earth spiritual body, they all had the hope of breaking through to the top 10 geniuses. Of course, there was only hope. Even if they had the same high-grade Earth spiritual body, their combat strength would still be different. For example, the strength of a domain, the strength of a domain martial technique, one's own battle consciousness, various secret skills, and so on all determined the strength of one's combat power. Mo He's eyes fell directly on the 5 people of Dragon God Valley. He glanced at them and finally stopped at Ziyu. I knew it. He wants to challenge me. Ziyu laughed. Ziyu, if you can't defeat him, get off the fighting stage. It's more important to save your life. Han Sun warned. Although Ziyu's combat strength was very strong, he did not have a superior Earth spiritual body. He was probably not Mo He's match. I know, don't worry. Ziyu stepped onto the battle stage. Without any unnecessary words, a great battle erupted. Ziyu was a heaven's favorite of the Purple Dragon Valley. He had cultivated the Purple Dragon combat body, which was a medium-grade Earth spiritual body. His territory had reached the peak of level 7, and his territory martial technique had been perfected. His combat power was extremely amazing. Although his spiritual body was not as good as Mo He's, his combat strength was not much different. It was impossible for Mo He to kill Ziyu in a short period of time. The two of them exchanged nearly 100 moves. In the end, Ziyu was no match for him and was thrown off the fighting ring. Ziyu had failed, and there were only 4 people left from Dragon God Valley. The challenges continued, and soon it was the Yudu sect's turn. The leader of the Yudu sect looked at the 4 people from Dragon God Valley and hesitated. None of the 4 remaining people from Dragon God Valley were simple. If they wanted to send someone to fight, they could only send someone with a superior Earth spiritual body, who was at the peak of the 6th level martial royal realm. Moreover, they would not be able to kill Lu Ming and the others. Even if they could defeat one of them, they might be injured, which would be disadvantageous for the subsequent battles. In the end, the Yudu sect's team leader sent out a weakling. For the first time, he did not challenge Dragon God Valley, but other sections. The leader of the Heavenly God sect's team had a gloomy expression. However, he also understood that the Tianshan sect, the Tianyu demonic sect, and the Yudu sect had joined forces to deal with Dragon God Valley. However, all 3 sects wanted the final victory. If they sent their top Heaven's Pride experts now, it would only cause heavy losses to both sides, which would be extremely disadvantageous for the future battles. After the Yudu sect, the Jiuxiao Sword sect went up to challenge. Just like that, it was Dragon God Valley's turn. Cold killing intent flashed through Han Sun's eyes. Now, the counterattack begins. Tian Shui, you go. Good, it's finally my turn. Tian Shui laughed out loud. He was already on the verge of exploding from holding back his laughter. Now, it was finally his turn. Boom! Tian Shui landed directly on the fighting ring. His eyes fell on a 6th-level martial royal realm young man from the deity sect and he shouted, "You, come down and accept your death. I'm not afraid of you." The young man from the heavenly god sect jumped onto the fighting stage. As soon as he stepped onto the fighting stage, he immediately launched an attack at Tian Shui. Go to hell! Tian Shui roared like a mad tyrant dragon. He raised his giant hammer and smashed it towards his opponent, completely ignoring his opponent's attack and defense. Boom! With a violent tremor, the young man from the heaven god sect screamed and was smashed into a pile of meat paste by Tian Shui. Die, die! Tian Shui roared. His water tank-like hammer danced in the air, causing the void to rumble. His eyes were filled with malevolent killing intent. Good kill. The disciples of Dragon God Valley shouted in joy. Han Sun and Lu Ming both sneered. The counterattack of the Dragon God Valley was finally about to begin. This was Lu Ming's plan. First, protect the people, then counterattack. This way, the lives of the disciples of Dragon God Valley could be preserved as much as possible, and the most powerful one would be left. In the beginning, many people were killed because there was no other way. If they didn't do this, those disciples with weak cultivation would all die. Not a single one would be left alive. To save the counterattack for the last time, he could try to preserve the lives of the Dragon God Valley disciples. The disciples of the heavenly god sect gritted their teeth and were furious. The people from the other sects seemed to have thought of something. Tian Shui returned to the platform. After that, he continued with 3 more rounds. With this round over, the 10th round began. It was the turn of the Tianshan sect to challenge again. At this moment, everyone's eyes were fixed on the Tianshan sect. How would the heavenly divine sect fight? Should he continue to challenge Dragon God Valley? Who would they send? At this moment, the leader of the heavenly god sect looked gloomy and hesitant. He had encountered a difficult problem. The remaining 4 people of Dragon God Valley had terrifying combat strength. If he were to send someone to challenge them, he would definitely send the most powerful Heaven's Pride expert. Sending the others would only be sending them to their deaths. Moreover, it would not be easy to defeat Lu Ming, Tian Shui, and the others. Even if he could win, he would definitely be injured and his combat strength would be greatly reduced. If a few of the top experts of the Tianshan sect were injured, the top experts of the other sects would definitely not let go of this opportunity and would challenge the top experts of the Tianshan sect. In this way, the top experts of the Tianshan sect would most likely be eliminated. Without a top expert, the Tianshan sect might not even be able to enter the top 10. The heavenly divine sect had now fallen into a passive position. The paragons of the other sects had obviously thought of this as well, and they all revealed looks of anticipation. How did this happen? The leader of the heavenly god sect clenched his fists tightly. Similarly, the team leaders of the Sky Demon sect and the Desire Poison sect were similar. Hey, are you guys going to challenge me or not? Don't dawdle and waste other people's time, said Lu Ming. He was calm and unruffled, as if he was waiting for the challenge from the deity sect. Lu Ming, many disciples of the heavenly god sect gritted their teeth and glared at Lu Ming with hatred. However, they definitely did not dare to challenge Lu Ming. They were just courting death. Brother Wu, Brother Mo. At this moment, the leader of the Heaven God sect transmitted a message to the leaders of the Sky Demon sect and the Desire Poison sect. Let's put Dragon God Valley aside and eliminate the weakest sects first. Then, we'll concentrate our forces on dealing with Dragon God Valley. What do you think? Alright, I agree. The leader of the Tianyu demonic sect replied, and the leader of the Yu-Du sect nodded. Chapter 1531 Chapter 1531 Challenging a top-tier powerhouse. The leaders of the three major sects, the Tianjin sect, the Tianyu demonic sect, and the Yu-Du sect, had a discussion. They would first eliminate the weakest sects, then join forces to deal with Lu Ming and the others from the Dragon God Valley. They had no other choice. If they went all out to deal with Lu Ming and the others now, the other sects would likely take advantage of them. In that case, they might not even be able to enter the top 10 and could not participate in this time's treasure-fixing assembly. This was something that they could not accept no matter what. Eliminating the other weakest sects would at least guarantee that they would enter the top 10 and be able to participate in the future treasure-sealing assembly. He would deal with Lu Ming and the rest after he was in the top 10. This was their plan. As expected, the God of Heaven sent a 5th-level martial emperor to challenge a 4th-level martial emperor from the Piyuan family. The Piyuan family was one of the weakest forces. It seems that the Tianjin sect is afraid. Why don't you dare to challenge my junior brothers of the Dragon God Valley? On the grandstand, a 7th-level martial royal realm Heaven's favorite from Dragon God Valley spoke. He looked at the grandstand of Tianjin sect with disdain. Previously, they were repeatedly ridiculed by the people of the Tianjin sect, saying that they would definitely not be able to participate in this time's treasure-fixing assembly, which made them extremely sullen. Now, they could finally fight back. What's the rush? That's right, the good show is yet to come. The Heaven's Pride experts of the Heavenly Gods sect who were at the 7th-level martial royal realm and above snorted coldly. Han Sun, this is a good plan. An old voice came from a pavilion. It was the Saint Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley. Elder, this is junior brother Lu Ming's idea. Han Sun said as he bowed towards the pavilion. Not bad. Keep up the good work. We must make some sects pay a price. Otherwise, do you really think that Dragon God Valley is easy to bully? The Saint Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley continued. Elder, don't worry. I guarantee that you'll be satisfied. Lu Ming said with a smile. At that moment, the battle had already begun. The Heaven's Pride expert of the Tianjin sect had easily defeated the Heaven's Pride expert of the Piyuan family. Next, it was the Tianyu demonic sect's turn. The Tianyu demonic sect also sent out an expert to challenge the Piyuan family and easily defeated the Piyuan family. When it was the Yu-Du sect's turn, they would also challenge the Piyuan family. Everyone understood that the three major sects of the Heavenly Gods sect were going to join forces to eliminate the weaker sections. The Piyuan family was helpless. They couldn't even resist. This year, there was a gap in the talents of the Piyuan family. They did not even have one upper-class earth spiritual body who had reached the peak of the 6th-level martial royal realm. They only had one upper-class earth spiritual body, who was at the 4th-level martial royal realm. They could only be targeted and could not fight back. Soon, it was Dragon God Valley's turn. This time, Xuaningxin had challenged the deity sect and killed a 6th-level martial royal realm Heaven's favorite. This made the faces of the people from the deity sect turn even uglier. Previously, they had killed the disciples of Dragon God Valley arrogantly, and Dragon God Valley could not fight back. But now, the people of the Dragon God Valley were hunting their Tianjin sect. It was difficult for them to fight back. They couldn't say anything and were extremely depressed. In the 11th round, the Tianjin sect, the Tianyu demonic sect, and the Yu-Du sect would continue to challenge the Piyuan family. When it was Dragon God Valley's turn, it was finally Han Sun's turn. Han Sun also challenged a LV6 martial royal realm expert from the Heavenly God sect. Han Sun had an upper-class earth spiritual body and his cultivation was at the peak of LV6 martial royal realm. He was absolutely powerful. His opponent could not even get off the fighting ring and was easily killed by Han Sun. The Tianjin sect could only endure. They had to endure until 3 sects were eliminated. At that time, they would launch a counterattack. In the 12th round, the 3 great sects of the Tianxin sect would continue to challenge the Piyuan family. This was because there were still other sects challenging the Piyuan family. The Piyuan family's number of people was also reduced to a single digit. They were already destined to be eliminated. This round, it was finally Lu Ming's turn to challenge. Buzz! Lu Ming took a step forward and appeared on the fighting ring. His gaze fell directly on the side of the Tianxin sect. No one was surprised. Now, Dragon God Valley would naturally take revenge and kill the people of the Tianxin sect. Lu Ming's gaze swept across the remaining Heaven's God sect's geniuses. Their expressions changed drastically, especially a few 6th-level martial royal realm Heaven's geniuses. Their faces turned pale. Finally, Lu Ming's gaze fell on a white-haired young man. "You, come down and die." Lu Ming said coldly. "What?" Lu Ming wants to challenge by MO. The hearts of the surrounding people trembled. There's a good show to watch. Let's bring it up in advance. Indeed, I never expected that Lu Ming would challenge by MO now. In recent years, the deity sect has produced many geniuses and strong people. It is said that there are 3 upper-class Earth spiritual bodies who have reached the peak of the 6th level of the martial royal realm participating in the treasure-settling small meeting. This Biamo is one of them. That's right, Biamo, he is one of the top experts in this time's treasure auction. Many people were excited. The Battle of the Peak was about to begin. Junior brother Lu Ming. Han Sun's eyes flickered as well. Lu Ming's move had exceeded his expectations. He had thought that Lu Ming would challenge an ordinary 6th-level martial emperor. "You want to challenge me?" Bai Mo's body gushed out cold killing intent and he said indifferently. "Not bad." Lu Ming said. "Alright, I wanted to kill you later, but since you're in a hurry to die, I'll send you on your way first." Bai Mo said coldly. He moved and appeared on the fighting ring, standing opposite Lu Ming. "Oh, really? If I kill you, the Tianxin sect will be heartbroken." Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. White essence slash. At this time, Biamo moved. A snow-white sword light slashed toward Lu Ming at an amazing speed. Before the sword reached him, the sharp intent pierced the air and made a whistling sound. Not everyone in the Tianxin sect cultivated sacred arts. Many people cultivated other arts. Buzz! The Emperor's spiritual weapon spear appeared in Lu Ming's hands. With a shake of the spear, it turned into a spear ray and pierced through the air. The spear radiance and the sword radiance collided, and the dense energy spread in all directions. Lu Ming and Bai Mo were already engaged in a fierce battle. Bai Mo's realm was very special. It was white, and every wisp of white light was a sword chi. With Bai Mo's realm martial technique, the power was very terrifying. The dense sword gleam was aimed at Lu Ming. Lu Ming used 13 accumulated power strikes to fight his opponent. His long spear was like a dragon, sweeping across the void. Each spear contained 13 attacks. The endless sword gleams were crushed by the long spear and dissipated in the air. The two figures crossed each other on the fighting ring, occasionally colliding with each other, making a shocking roar. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had exchanged more than 50 moves. Gate of God, Seal. In the process of the battle, Lu Ming cast the 9 seals of the Gate of God. 6 sealing gates appeared at once, emitting thousands of rays of light, trying to seal Bai Mo's pupils shrank and he growled, "White God, sword shadow." Bai Mo's body emitted a white light like a sword. In a flash, he rushed out of the 9 seals of the Gate of God. What a wondrous spirit body! Lu Ming's heart stirred. Bai Mo's spirit body should be a kind of sword body, which was extremely mysterious. Chapter 1532 Chapter 1532 Killing by Mo. It had to be said that the upper-class Earth's spiritual body was indeed extremely talented and powerful. Bai Mo's combat strength was absolutely amazing. With his cultivation at the peak of the 6th level martial royal realm, he might be able to kill an expert at the 8th level. White God Sword Formation. After Bai Mo rushed out of the 9 seals of the Gate of God, he growled. His eyes turned completely white, and there were strange lines in his eyes. Buzz! In the sky, a dense pattern suddenly appeared, like a huge white array. Following that, white lines also appeared under Lu Ming's feet. It looked like a large array. One from above and one from below, they surrounded Lu Ming. This isn't a formation. It's a secret technique that belongs to the spirit body. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Some powerful spirit bodies would develop some secret skills that belonged to the spirit body. To put it bluntly, they were brought over by the bloodline. For example, Lu Ming's devouring power was brought over by the 9 dragons' bloodline. He condensed the dragon god's body and still retained the devouring power. Other bloodlines, after turning into spirit bodies, might also retain some powerful innate secret skills. Whoosh! 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 Boundless sword chi condensed from the 2 images and poured toward Lu Ming. In all directions, Lu Ming had no way to retreat. Wind Elemental Technique. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. From the air-frozen bead, a green energy gushed into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming cast the wind element art and his body seemed to turn into a breeze, floating in the void. Lu Ming's body swayed, leaving a trail of afterimages behind him. He flickered among the endless sword chi and dodged the sword chi. However, there were too many sword auras. In such a narrow space, no matter how fast Lu Ming's movement technique was, he could not completely avoid them. Whoosh! An extremely sharp sword chi was aimed at Lu Ming's chest. Lu Ming's body was covered with the Chaos Realm. It resisted the sword chi and there were sizzling sounds. The sword chi actually pierced through the Chaos Realm and stabbed Lu Ming's chest. It was not that the Chaos Realm was not strong. First of all, this kind of sword chi was really terrifying. Secondly, Lu Ming's Chaos Realm was too low level, only level 4. At least for Bai Mo, his level was too low, so he could not defend against it. If it had been a 5th level primal chaos domain, this sword chi would definitely not have been able to break through its defense. However, the primal chaos domain had also greatly weakened the sword chi's power. Roar! At that moment, a dragon's roar came from Lu Ming's body, and a layer of dragon scales appeared on his body. Buzz! The sword chi slashed at the dragon scale, causing sparks to fly in all directions. The sword chi was shattered, and the dragon scale on Lu Ming's chest was slightly damaged, revealing a trace of blood. What a terrifying sword chi! Lu Ming's heart stirred. The upper and lower patterns contained boundless sword chi. Even a LV8 martial royal realm expert would be cut down by them. Buzz! Buzz! More energy poured into the air-frozen bead. Lu Ming circulated the wind element art to the extreme and his speed increased. The sky was filled with Lu Ming's figure. However, Lu Ming could not rush out of the range of the 2 diagrams, as they covered the entire fighting ring. If he did, it would mean that he had rushed out of the fighting ring and he would lose this round. If it was anywhere else, Lu Ming would have rushed out. Ha! Under senior brother Bai Mo's eye technique, the white god sword formation, Lu Ming is dead, that's right. Senior brother Bai Mo's eye technique has killed many high-level martial emperors. Once you fall into it, unless your cultivation is too high, you will only die. This Lu Ming actually took the initiative to challenge senior brother Bai Mo. He's really looking for death. Seeing that Lu Ming was in danger, the disciples of the heavenly gods sect were in a good mood. They could not help but mock and gloat at. On the Dragon God Valley side, Tian Chui and Xuaningxin were a little worried. On the fighting ring, Bai Mo's eyes turned completely white. There were lines on his eyes, which were exactly the same as the two patterns. Bai Mo stepped into the void and landed on the pattern above. The area on his body seemed to merge with the pattern. Suddenly, the pattern became even more terrifying. The sword chi whistled and the speed increased greatly. Lu Ming, today is the day you die. Bai Mo said indifferently. It's too early for you to be happy. Lu Ming's indifferent voice was heard. At the same time, he continued to form seals with his hands. Gate of God, 9 seals. A deep voice was heard as 6 sealing gates appeared. However, this time, the sealing door was not aimed at Bai Mo, but at Lu Ming himself. The 6 gates of sealing hovered around Lu Ming and shone with a brilliant light. The sword chi that was aimed at Lu Ming was actually sealed by the power of the gates of sealing and stopped in midair. 9 dragons trampling the heavens. Then, Lu Ming took 9 steps in a row. The power of the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps burst forth, dispersing the sword chi below. With the help of this force, Lu Ming soared into the sky. The Emperor's spiritual weapon spear had appeared in his hands again. He and the spear became one, and he launched 13 strikes. He rushed to the sky and attacked Bai Mo whoosh. Whoosh. In the process of soaring into the sky, 2 jet-black divine swords burst out from Lu Ming's eyes. Godly Sword Technique. The Godly Sword Technique was a soul attack. It broke through the pattern that Bai Mo had laid and rushed into Bai Mo's body. Ah! At this moment, Bai Mo let out a shrill scream, as if his soul was about to be torn apart. As a martial monarch's cultivation level increased, his spiritual god would become stronger. At the same time, his soul would also become stronger. The higher the realm, the stronger the soul power. Lu Ming's soul had been refined by the world refining tribulation bell. It was broken and then rebuilt. The strength of his soul was dozens of times stronger than martial artists of the same level. Moreover, he had been cultivating the divine sword technique during this period of time. His soul force had also become stronger. If it was a martial artist of the same level as Lu Ming could directly annihilate the soul of the other party with the divine sword technique. Even a heaven's favorite like Bai Mo, whose cultivation was 2 levels higher than Lu Ming's, felt as if his soul was about to split open at this time. At this time, the 2 patterns under Bai Mo's feet became dim. Bang! Lu Ming broke through the pattern directly, and the sharp spear pierced Bai Mo's body directly. Ah! Bai Mo let out an unwilling scream, and then under Lu Ming's destructive power, his body and spirit were destroyed. Bai Mo, die! At this moment, the fighting ring suddenly fell silent. Almost everyone's eyes were wide open as they stared at the fighting ring. A moment ago, Lu Ming was completely suppressed and in danger, but the next moment, the situation was reversed. Lu Ming had killed Bai Mo in one fell swoop. This change was too fast, making everyone unable to react in time. Bai Mo was cut down, and the pattern on the fighting ring disappeared. Bai Mo's body fell heavily on the fighting ring, which also woke everyone up. The scene was in an uproar. Senior brother Bai Mo. Junior brother Bai Mo, Lu Ming, you deserve to die. Furious roars rang out from the side of the heavenly divine sect. Bai Mo had a superior grade earth spiritual body. There were not many heaven's favorites like him in the entire Tianshan sect. Each one of them had the potential to become one of the top 10 geniuses in the Tsang region. In the future, they would be able to become martial saints. They might even have the chance to become supreme saints. To a sect, each and every one of these heaven's favorites was an immeasurable treasure. But now, Lu Ming had killed one of them. How could the people of the Tianshan sect not be angry? Chapter 1533 Beginning to deal with Dragon God Valley. On the other hand, the disciples of Dragon God Valley were very excited. Good kill. Isn't the Heavenly God sect very arrogant? This is how you kill. Lu Ming is invincible. Many people shouted. Especially Chiao Ying, Chiao Hao, and those who were close to Lu Ming. They were so excited that their faces turned red. Previously, so many people of Dragon God Valley had been killed. The disciples of Dragon God Valley were furious and aggrieved. They had nowhere to vent their anger. Now, he had completely vented it out. A heaven's favorite with an upper-class earth spiritual body was worth more than all the disciples of Dragon God Valley who had been killed. There were only 3 Heaven's Pride experts from the Heavenly Gods sect who had participated in this small meeting. One of them had died all of a sudden, which was a heavy loss. You're just a piece of trash, let's go. Lu Ming said coldly in the fighting ring. He put Bai Mo's storage ring away. Ah, Lu Ming, I'll kill you. You're dead. Some of the Heaven's Pride experts of the Heavenly God sect, who were at the LV7 Martial Royal Realm and above, roared in anger. What's wrong? Disciples below the 7th rank can't do it. Do you want to make a move? On the grandstand of Dragon God Valley, the disciples of the 7th rank and above said coldly, which made the faces of the disciples of the Tianshan sect even more unsightly. Lu Ming, your combat strength has already reached this level. In the stands of the Heavenly God sect, Zi Wuji spoke as he clenched his fists tightly. Ji Hongqian of Eden was sitting beside him. They were all from the Divine Ruins Continent group. A few years ago, they had even competed with Lu Ming, but now, Lu Ming had completely surpassed them. Eden was the strongest among them, but he was only at LV2 Martial Royal Realm. As for Zi Wuji and Ji Hongqian, they were still stuck at the peak of the first-level Martial Emperor realm. In Eden, Ji Hongqian's face was also filled with complicated emotions. Zi Wuji, Ji Hongqian, after this competition ends, I plan to leave the Heaven Deity sect and go out to temper myself. What about you two? Eden transmitted his voice to Zi Wuji and Ji Hongqian. In the past, the 3 of them did not have a good relationship in the continent of the Divine Ruins. They were even competitors. However, after coming to the Yuan continent, the 3 of them became very close. After all, they came from the same place. You want to leave the Tianshan sect? With your current cultivation, it's very dangerous for you to leave the sect and go out. Zi Wuji's expression changed. Only danger has the value of training. If I die on the path of training, I can only blame myself for not being skilled enough. However, if we stay in the deity sect, outsiders like us will not be able to receive any good training. We are no different from handymen. We will never be able to catch up to Lu Ming's footsteps. Yi Dian said, as if he had made a decision. I'll go with you. Ji Hongqian said after a moment of silence. After Zi Wuji's expression changed for a while, he gritted his teeth and said, I'll continue to stay in the Tianshan sect. All right. Eden nodded. Everyone had their own ambitions, and he would not force them. On the fighting ring, Lu Ming kept the storage ring and returned to the 10th platform in a flash. Lu Ming, well done. Ha! Tian Chui laughed. Xuaningxin and Han Sun also smiled. The disciples of the Tianshan sect flew down from the fighting ring and collected Bai Mo's body. The competition continued. Soon, this round was over, and a new round began. It was the turn of the Tianshan sect to challenge again. The leader of the Tianshan sect cast a cold glance at Lu Ming and the rest. However, in the end, he still sent people to continue challenging the Piyuan family. Now, they could only endure. Now, they had already lost a top-notch powerhouse and their strength had been greatly reduced. They did not dare to fight with Dragon God Valley now. They were afraid that they would not be able to make it into the top 10. After the deity sect, the Tianyu demon sect and the Yudu sect followed the deity sect's footsteps and dealt with the Piyuan family. When it was Dragon God Valley's turn, Tian Chui challenged them and killed a 6th-level fighter. Just like that, a few rounds passed. The first sect to be eliminated had finally emerged. The Piyuan family had been eliminated in advance by the combined forces of the deity sect, the Tianyu demonic sect, and the Yudu sect. Now, there were only 12 sects left. The competition continued. It was Lu Ming's turn to challenge someone. This time, he did not challenge the opponent's top powerhouse. Instead, he chose a weaker opponent. The competition went on round by round. The atmosphere was getting more and more depressing. The faces of everyone in the Heavenly Gods sect also became uglier and uglier. Every round, they would lose one of their heaven's favorites to Dragon God Valley. Those who were selected to participate in the small meeting were all top heaven's pride experts. The loss of each of them would make the Tianshan sect feel heartache. But now, they were being killed one after another. When the 19th round ended, the Tianshan sect only had 16 people left. The losses were beyond imagination. There were still 4 people from Dragon God Valley. At this moment, another 2 weaker sects were eliminated. Finally, there were only 10 sects left on the scene. These 10 sects were equivalent to obtaining the qualifications for the treasure-fixing assembly. The 20th round began and it was the Tianshan sect's turn to challenge. Brother Wu, Brother Mo, it's time to eliminate Dragon God Valley. The leader of the Heavenly God sect's team had a very cold look in his eyes. His tone was filled with endless coldness. Good, just what I want. In the Tianyu demon sect, the cold light in Mohe's eyes was especially intense. I've been waiting for this moment. From the Yudu sect, Wu Qiandiu's eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Poisonous insects crawled out of his body and swam around him. Brother Wang, how about we work together and eliminate Dragon God Valley? The leader of the Heavenly God sect team looked at the leader of the Zhouxiao Sword sect. Zhouxiao Sword sect had a good relationship with Tianshan sect. On the contrary, they were not on good terms with Dragon God Valley. He wanted to get Zhouxiao Sword sect to deal with Lu Ming and the others. The Zhouxiao Sword sect leader's eyes flickered as he looked in the direction of Dragon God Valley with a hint of fear. I won't get involved in your business. He didn't want to get involved in the conflict between the Tianshan sect, the Tianyu demonic sect, and the Yuda sect. Moreover, Dragon God Valley wasn't an easy bone to chew. Zhouxiao Sword sect's refusal made the leader of the Heavenly God sect's face darken. Hey, are you guys going to challenge me or not? Don't waste time. Tian Chui carried his huge hammer on his shoulder as he looked towards the direction of the Tianshan sect and berated. Since you're so eager to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Waning, you're up for this round. The leader of the Heavenly God sect said to a figure who was wrapped in a black robe. I've been waiting for this moment. The black-robed figure spoke coldly, causing the hearts of many disciples of the Heavenly God sect to tremble. They knew very well how terrifying these black-robed figures and Luaning were. Buzz! A shadow flickered, and Luaning appeared on the fighting ring. Many of those with weaker cultivation didn't even see how he had appeared on the fighting ring. You, come down. Within the black robes, a pair of cold eyes stared at Tian Chui as a cold voice sounded out. Ha, it's finally my turn. Tian Chui grinned and laughed. Tian Chui, you have to be careful. This person is one of the 3 high-rank earth spiritual bodies in the Tianshan sect, and he is good at assassination. Han Sun warned with a serious expression. Don't worry. No matter what he's good at, I'll smash him to pieces with my hammer. Tian Chui grinned. Chapter 1534 Chapter 1534 Heavenly Hammer, Zhan Ying Boom. Tian Chui, carrying the giant hammer that was as big as a water tank, rushed into the fighting ring. Like an iron tower, he landed on the fighting ring, causing it to rumble. Shorty, let Grandpa Tian Chui's hammer scout you. Tian Chui brandished his water tank-like hammer, revealing a malevolent killing intent. Die! Right at this moment, Wanning moved. His body was like a shadow, suddenly appearing in front of Tian Shui, and a thin and long sword was thrust towards Tian Shui's heart. Fast, accurate, and ruthless. He was like a well-trained killer. Boom! Tian Shui's feet suddenly stomped on the ground as his figure rapidly retreated. Then, the giant hammer appeared in front of him. Clang! The opponent's long sword was deflected when it struck Tian Shui's hammer. Wanning made use of the rebound force, and his body flickered, reappearing above Tian Shui's head, and the terrifying sword light pierced towards Tian Shui's head. Get lost! Tian Shui roared in anger, and the giant hammer exploded above his head. The giant hammer struck, bringing with it a terrifying wind that caused the sky to rumble. Clang! The giant hammer hit the opponent's sword again. However, Wan Ying's body seemed to be weightless, and he could appear wherever he wanted. Buzz! In the next moment, Wan Ying appeared behind Tian Shui again and thrust his long sword. Tian Shui used his giant hammer to sweep across, forming an impenetrable defense. However, Wan Ying's movement technique was truly too fast. He constantly slithered around Tian Shui's body, and his long sword was like a poisonous snake, aiming at Tian Shui's vital points every time. Shadow Domain. On the platform, Lu Ming furrowed his eyebrows slightly. Wan Ying had comprehended the shadow domain, which allowed him to follow like a shadow. He cultivated the sword Dao of assassination, and when they worked together perfectly, their power was astonishing. Martial artists of a higher realm than him could usually kill with one strike. It was obvious that the other side had arranged for Wan Ying to challenge Tian Shui, which just happened to be able to restrain Tian Shui, making him unable to use his full strength. Get lost, get lost, get lost. Tian Shui became more and more furious as he continuously struck out with his giant hammer. The sky exploded, bringing with it a terrifying gale that swept out in all directions. Whoosh! All of a sudden, a sword light shot out from beneath Tian Shui's feet, piercing towards him. This sword strike came without any warning and was unbelievably fast. This sword strike was actually from Tian Shui's own shadow. This sword strike had exceeded everyone's expectations. Not good. Han Sun and Xuaningxin exclaimed in shock. Roar! Tian Shui seemed to have sensed the danger. With a roar, his muscles squirmed and a layer of dragon scales appeared on his skin. At the same time, Tian Shui's figure retreated explosively, avoiding this sword. The sword light still hit Tian Shui's leg, and the dragon scales were cut open, revealing a deep wound. If not for Tian Shui's timely reaction, one of his legs would have been chopped off. Whoosh! However, at this moment, his own shadow shot out another sword light from Tian Shui's feet. What a strange attack! Kill! Tian Shui roared as the giant hammer in his hand heavily smashed down on his own shadow. Boom! The giant hammer smashed the sword light directly and smashed into the shadow on the fighting ring. The entire fighting ring started to shake. Not far away, Wan Ying's body trembled, and he retreated a few steps. It seemed that Tian Shui's attack had indirectly injured him. Whoosh! Then, with a flash, Wan Ying disappeared. At this moment, 8 more shadows appeared around Tian Shui. Each of the shadows would shoot out a sword light, stabbing towards Tian Shui. Tian Shui used his giant hammer to sweep across, blocking the enemy's attacks. However, the attacks from all 4 directions were too fast, and Tian Shui found it difficult to completely block them. After a while, Tian Shui's body was covered with several wounds, so deep that his bones could be seen, and blood was flowing out. Hee, senior brother Wan Ying, you're going to win. On the side of the Heavenly Gods sect, some disciples sneered. On the side of the Dragon God Valley, everyone was watching carefully with a sullen face. Torvosaurus strike. All of a sudden, Tian Shui let out a loud roar. He grabbed the handle of his giant hammer with both hands, lifted it up, and began to spin at an extreme speed. The handle of Tian Shui's hammer was exceptionally long. When it was swung, it was like a hurricane sweeping in all directions. Bang! 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 The 8 shadows couldn't dodge at all. They were hit and collapsed. The 8 shadows crumbled and condensed back into one shadow, which turned into Wan Ying's figure. At this moment, the black robe on Wan Ying's head had been blown to pieces, revealing a dark and gloomy face. There was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. Clearly, he had also been injured by Tian Chui's attack. Shadow sword, kill. A deep voice came out of Wan Ying's mouth. His body slowly became blurry, turned into a shadow, and finally disappeared. Wan Ying seemed to have completely disappeared from the fighting ring, and even his aura could not be sensed. Shadow-type spirit body. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Whoosh! At this moment, a sword light shot out from the top of Tian Chui's head, aiming for him. The heavenly hammer struck upwards. But at the same time, a sword light appeared beneath Tian Chui's feet, on his left and right, and stabbed towards him. Tian Chui roared in anger, his figure rapidly retreating, avoiding the sword light attack. However, there was still a ray of sword light that managed to leave a wound on Tian Chui's body. Around the heavenly hammer, sword lights constantly appeared, without a sound or sign. Torvosaurus strike. Tian Chui roared loudly and once again used the same move as before. He raised the giant hammer and madly spun it. However, this time, the sword light did not collapse. Instead, it passed through the heavenly hammer's attack and continued to stab towards it. A few more wounds appeared on Tian Chui's body. What's going on? Why can't I attack him? Some disciples of Dragon God Valley said anxiously. The opponent was too strange. Tian Chui's attack was actually unable to hit him. It's not that the attack can't hit him, but that the opponent's shadow can greatly reduce the damage. When Tian Chui's attack lands on the opponent's body, the damage is reduced. At the same time, the opponent's speed is too fast, and most of the attacks have been dodged by him. A 9th-level martial royal realm heaven's favorite explained in the stands. Roar! A dragon's roar came out of Tian Chui's mouth. He took a step forward and madly rushed to the side of the fighting stage. It looked like he was about to rush off the fighting ring. You want to rush to the fighting ring? Stay. In the air, Wan Ying's cold voice came. Tian Chui acted as if he didn't hear anything and continued to rush forward. Whoosh! A terrifying sword light pierced towards the heavenly hammer from behind. Tian Chui, who had been charging forward, suddenly stopped and turned around. Puchi! This sword light pierced through Tian Chui's chest, causing blood to splatter everywhere. Die! A cold voice rang out as Wan Ying's figure appeared in front of Tian Chui. Roar! At this moment, Tian Chui let out an earth-shaking dragon roar. A huge phantom of a barbaric dragon appeared on his body, and it clawed at Wan Ying. Not good. Wan Ying's expression changed drastically, but it was too late for him to dodge at such a close distance. Chapter 1535 Lu Ming vs. Wu Qiandu Bang. The Torvosaurus phantom's claw hit Wan Ying. He groaned and was sent flying, spitting out blood. Kill, die! Tian Chui roared. He threw the giant hammer in his hand like a meteorite, hitting Wan Ying who was still in the air. Ah! Wan Ying screamed as his body was sent flying. The giant hammer carried him out of the fighting ring and landed heavily on the ground. Wan Ying spat out a mouthful of blood, his face as pale as a sheet. Wan Ying was defeated, because Tian Chui was still on the fighting ring. Buzz! The giant hammer flew back into the fighting ring and landed in Tian Chui's hands. Tian Chui's body trembled as he spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was extremely pale. Although he had defeated Wan Ying, he had also been severely injured. Senior brother Tian Chui, quickly come up and heal. Lu Ming shouted. Circulating his true qi, Tian Chui rushed up to the platform and sat down cross-legged, focusing all his energy on healing. Just now, he had been wounded by Wan Ying's sword many times, and his heart had even been pierced by the long sword. The terrifying destructive sword qi had continuously destroyed Tian Chui's spiritual body. Tian Chui had to first destroy these destructive sword qi before he could recover. Damn it! On the platform of the Heavenly God sect, the leader of the Heavenly God sect shouted angrily. Originally, he had thought that with Wan Ying's combat strength, as well as the fact that he just happened to be able to restrain Tian Chui, he should be able to take him down. Although he might not be able to kill Tian Chui, he should be able to defeat him without any problem. He didn't expect that Tian Chui would defeat Wan Ying in the end, with both of them suffering great losses, causing his plan to fail. In this way, 2 of the 3 top experts of the Heavenly God sect had been defeated, leaving only the leader. This made everyone in the Heavenly God sect look very ugly. Before this, the God of Heaven sect had already announced that they would also take the first place in this time's fixed treasure little meeting and achieve 3 consecutive championships. But now, the leader was the only top-notch expert. Most of the other 6th-ranked experts had been killed. It was impossible for him to obtain first place. All of this was because of Dragon God Valley. Previously, they had wanted to deal with Dragon God Valley, but in the end, they had gotten themselves into trouble. Before the competition began, the people of the Tianshan sect probably never dreamed that this would happen. I'll leave the rest to you. The leader of the Heavenly God sect team looked at the Tianyu demon sect. Buzz! A figure with a demonic blade on his back rushed out of the Tianyu demonic sect, and his demonic chi soared into the sky. It's a demon manifestation. Someone recognized this person. There were 2 people from the Tianyu demon sect who had upper-class earth spiritual bodies and had reached the peak of LV6 martial royal realm. One of them was Mo He, and the other was Mo Xian. Mo Xian's gaze fell directly on Xuanixin, and he said, "I challenge you." Many people were shocked. Sure enough, the Tianshan sect, the Tianyu demon sect, and the Yudu sect had begun to dispatch their strongest combat forces to deal with Dragon God Valley. Xuanixin took a step forward and stepped onto the fighting ring. Kill! The demonic blade was unsheathed, and demonic chi soared into the sky. Roar! As the dragon's roar rumbled, Xuanixin revealed her true form, turning into a snow dragon. The 2 sides engaged in an intense battle. This battle was different from Tian Chui's and Wan Ying's. This battle was a head-on clash, and it was particularly fierce. Xuanixin was a pure-blooded true dragon. Even among the true dragons, she was considered a genius. Her dragon body was strong, not weaker than a superior earth spiritual body. She was on par with Mo Xian. The 2 sides fought for more than 200 moves. In the end, Xuanixin won by a slight margin and knocked Mo Xian off the fighting stage, while Xuanixin herself was seriously injured. Her injuries were even worse than Tian Chui's. Xuanixin dragged her heavily injured body back to the platform and began to heal. Dragon God Valley had won another battle and defeated a top expert of the Tianyu demon sect. Could it be that Dragon God Valley would be the last one? Some people had such thoughts. The challenge continued, and soon it was the Desire Poison sect's turn. Buzz! Wu Qiandu of the Desire Poison sect stood up and stepped onto the fighting ring. The Desire Poison sect also had 2 top experts. Wu Qiandu was the leader of the Desire Poison sect. This time, he was personally taking action. Wu Qiandu's gaze shifted between Han Sun and Lu Ming. According to the rules, Tian Chui and Xuanixin had just fought. Now, they could not challenge them. They could only challenge Lu Ming and Han Sun before they could challenge Tian Chui and Xuanixin. Finally, Wu Qiandu's gaze fell on Lu Ming. Lu Ming, you managed to escape with your saint weapon the last time. Now, come down and face your death. Wu Qiandu said coldly. Last time, Lu Ming had used the black wings to create a strong wind that rendered his poison gas useless. Now that he could not use his holy weapon, he would like to see how Lu Ming would defend against his poison gas. Another one is here to die. Lu Ming smiled indifferently. He took a step forward and landed on the fighting ring. Buzz! As soon as Lu Ming's feet landed on the ground, Wu Qiandu made his move. A dense swarm of venomous insects swarmed toward Lu Ming, covering the sky and the sun like a dark cloud. Buzz! Lu Ming's chaos domain spread out and enveloped the countless poisonous insects. Fire! Lu Ming said softly. The chaos realm turned into a flame realm in an instant. The flames enveloped the venomous insects, and with a sizzling sound, the venomous insects were burned to ashes by the flames. However, at this moment, with a wave of Wu Qiandu's hand, toads appeared one after another. Each toad was covered in pustules and emitted a foul stench as they pounced at Lu Ming. In mid-air, the toads spat out streams of poisonous water from their mouths, which enveloped Lu Ming. When the poisonous water fell on the chaos domain, there was actually a sizzling sound of corrosion. Kill! At the same time, Wu Qiandu charged towards Lu Ming. A soft whip appeared in his hand. The soft whip was covered with poisonous thorns and was rolling towards Lu Ming. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming cast the prison-suppressing heavenly art and punched the toads and whips one after another. However, the toads exploded in the process of Lu Ming's fist force. They turned into a pool of thick water and gushed toward Lu Ming, emitting a disgusting smell. Lu Ming felt a little dizzy when he smelled the stench. He circulated his true qi and regained his consciousness. What a terrifying poison! Lu Ming thought to himself. Buzz! Buzz! Venomous insects kept swarming out of Wu Qiandu's body. Then, toads, venomous snakes, and other things attacked Lu Ming. He controlled the soft whip and lashed it at Lu Ming with great agility. Kill, die! Lu Ming suddenly shouted and extended his divine sword technique. Two black sword lights burst out from Lu Ming's eyes and rushed toward Wu Qiandu. But at this moment, a shield made of venomous insects appeared on the surface of Wu Qiandu's body. When the divine sword technique hit the venomous insects, a large number of them were killed, but Wu Qiandu was safe and sound. Soul attacks can ignore ordinary defenses and attack the soul. However, these bugs of mine have a spirit. Your soul attack can't penetrate anything with a spirit. You used it once last time, so I'm prepared this time. Hee hee. Wu Qiandu sneered. It seems like soul attacks aren't omnipotent. They still have their weaknesses. Lu Ming pondered. Chapter 1536 Refining Wu Qiandu. Ordinary defenses couldn't defend against soul attacks at all. They could directly penetrate through. Back then, when they were facing the evil spirit cult's elder Mo Hun, Lu Ming's chaos domain and Bubble's spacetime domain could only weaken a portion of the attack. They could not completely defend against it. It was obvious that ordinary defense was useless. However, soul attacks also had their weaknesses. If a living being was in front of them, the soul attack would not be able to pass through. For example, Wu Qiandu used his poisonous insects to block in front of him. Although the poisonous insects were small, they still had a spirit and a soul. The soul attack would attack the venomous insects, and Wu Qiandu, who was behind the venomous insects, was naturally safe and sound. Since he dared to challenge Lu Ming, he naturally had a foolproof plan. However, Lu Ming's expression remained calm. If the soul attack technique was useless, could Lu Ming not do anything to Wu Qiandu? Buzz! Lu Ming covered his entire body with the chaos domain and soared into the sky. Boom! 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 Then, Lu Ming looked down from above and continued to bombard with his fists. Terrifying fist forces shot towards Wu Qiandu, the poisonous insects, and the snakes like meteors. A large number of poisonous insects and toads were killed. On the fighting ring, there were dead insects, toads, and vipers everywhere. Pools of venom filled the fighting ring, giving off a disgusting smell. Wisps of poisonous gas filled the fighting ring. Ha, Lu Ming, thank you for your cooperation. The poison gas formation has been set up. You can die now. In the fighting ring, Wu Qiandu revealed a cold smile. A cloud of green poisonous gas gushed out from his body and merged with the poisonous gas on the fighting ring. The entire fighting ring was shrouded in the poisonous gas. 1,000 poisonous hands. Wu Qiandu said coldly. The poisonous gas rolled and turned into poisonous palms, blasting toward Lu Ming in the sky. Lu Ming cast the wind elemental technique and dodged the poisonous palms. Since that's the case, I'll kill you first. An emperor's spiritual weapon spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand. He became one with the spear and swooped down, charging into the poison gas formation and killing Wu Qiandu. You can't kill me. Wu Qiandu sneered. With a bang, his body exploded and turned into clouds of poisonous gas, which then merged with the poisonous gas of the formation. Lu Ming's long spear swept across and the poisonous gas rolled around. Kill! Lu Ming shouted and an invisible soul attack burst out. However, there were countless poisonous insects flying in the poisonous gas. Lu Ming shouted and a group of poisonous insects fell. Hee hee, Lu Ming, you can't hurt me at all. You can only let me kill you. Wu Qiandu's smug voice rang out. The poison gas formation rolled and surged towards Lu Ming continuously. The terrifying poison gas enveloped Lu Ming as if it was going to corrode the chaos realm and turn Lu Ming into ashes. Moreover, the poisonous gas would condense into attacks that were aimed at Lu Ming. The long spear vibrated and destroyed the attacks one by one. Lu Ming, you can rush down the Colosseum yourself. Otherwise, I'll kill you. Wu Qiandu's cold voice sounded. You think too highly of yourself. Lu Ming said indifferently. If he wanted to kill Wu Qiandu, Lu Ming could do it now. As long as he cast the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal, the terrifying power of the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal would directly cover the entire fighting ring. He could easily destroy this large array and even kill Wu Qiandu. But now was not the time to use the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal. Lu Ming wanted to keep the Chaos Empyrean Seal to deal with the leader of the Divine Realm sect or Mohe. He would not use the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal for the time being, so he could only use other methods. Buzz! Lu Ming's chaos domain suddenly spread out, enveloping the entire fighting ring. Then, endless thunder and lightning appeared and filled the fighting ring, followed by flames. The entire fighting ring was enveloped by the power of thunder and fire. Chi-chi! The poisonous insects were burned to death one by one. Kill! Kill! Then, Lu Ming kept shouting and casting the divine sword technique. It formed invisible waves that rushed in all directions. A large number of poisonous insects were killed and turned into ashes in the thunder and fire. I don't believe that your soul force can keep on exploding. Wu Qiandu's voice sounded. A person's soul power is limited. Using it continuously will consume a lot of soul power. However, after a while, Wu Qiandu started to get nervous. Lu Ming did not stop. His soul attacks continued to erupt, and the poisonous insects were almost all killed. Kill! Lu Ming bellowed. The poisonous gas rolled and Wu Qiandu's agonized cries rang out. A cloud of mist gathered and rolled, as if it was about to condense into a human figure. Devour! Lu Ming took a step forward and pressed his left palm in the air. The devouring power burst forth and enveloped the cloud of poisonous gas. Wisps of poisonous gas were devoured and began to be refined by Lu Ming. The poisonous gas was very terrifying. However, Lu Ming's spirit body had reached the superior grade earth spirit body. Moreover, his spirit body contained traces of chaotic qi, which was stronger than ordinary superior grade earth spirit bodies. He was not afraid of the poisonous gas. Roar! A faint dragon's roar could be heard coming from Lu Ming's body. The poisonous gas that Wu Qiandu had turned into was being refined continuously. Ah, how could this be? My spirit body is invincible. How did you refine it? Within the poisonous gas, Wu Qiandu's terrified cry rang out as he desperately resisted. Kill, die! Lu Ming shouted. 2 beams of sword light shot out of his eyes and pierced into the poisonous gas. Wu Qiandu screamed in pain as his resistance was instantly weakened. Lu Ming continued to release his devouring power, devouring and refining the poisonous gas that Wu Qiandu had turned into. As he screamed, the cloud of poisonous gas that Wu Qiandu had turned into became smaller and smaller. He wanted to reform his body, but Lu Ming attacked him directly. With a punch, he turned into poisonous gas again and was devoured and refined by Lu Ming. Very quickly, the poisonous gas that Wu Qiandu had turned into was reduced by more than half. Spare me, please spare me. Wu Qiandu was finally scared and started to beg for mercy. The feeling of watching himself being refined made him extremely frightened. Moreover, he didn't want to die. He had a bright future ahead of him. With his talent, he was very confident that he could break through to the Saint Realm in the future. How carefree was a Saint Realm expert with a lifespan of more than 100,000 years. And NBSP, the spectators from the 13 sects were all stunned. Wu Qiandu had actually been forced to this extent by Lu Ming. In the eyes of these heaven's favorites, Wu Qiandu was a terrifying existence. With his 1000-bath poison body and his deadly poison, no one wouldn't be afraid of him. Even those heaven's favorites at his level would be afraid of him. But now, he was begging for mercy in front of Lu Ming. Spare my life. Previously, you sent people from the Yudu sect to kill our Dragon God Valley disciples. Why didn't you spare them? Why didn't you think about the current situation? Lu Ming said coldly. The devouring power continued to devour. Wu Qiandu cried out in pain, and the poisonous gas continued to roll. Before the battle with Lu Ming, he would not have thought of such an outcome. All he could think of was how to kill Lu Ming. Wisps of poisonous gas were devoured by Lu Ming and then refined. The poisonous gas that Wu Qiandu had turned into was getting smaller and smaller. Chapter 1537, 1537 Chapter 1537 Became a joke. Young man, don't go too far. Don't go too far. At this moment, an old voice came from one of the buildings. From the direction of the voice, it should be the Saint Realm Elder of the Yudu sect. Hee, are you heartbroken? Why didn't you think about that when you killed the disciples of Dragon God Valley? Lu Ming, you don't have to care about this old man. The voice of the Dragon God Valley's Saint Realm Elder came from the pavilion behind the Dragon God Valley. Young man, you'd better think about it. After all, you'll have to travel outside in the future. It's not good to go too far. The Saint Realm Elder of the Yudu sect continued. You're despicable. You're threatening a disciple of Dragon God Valley. The Saint Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley said. Hee. The Saint Realm Elder of the Yudu sect sneered. Kill. However, Lu Ming's reply was only one word, kill. 2 more beams of sword light shot out from Lu Ming's eyes and pierced into the poisonous gas. Wu Qiandu screamed in pain as the cloud of poisonous gas collapsed completely, without a trace of life. Wu Qiandu, dead. This was Lu Ming's response to the Yudu sect's Sage Realm Elder. He was domineering and merciless. At this moment, there was no sound from the pavilion behind the Desire Poison sect. However, a cold killing intent spread out. Of course, in such an environment, the elders of the Saint Realm were not allowed to interfere. Otherwise, the other sects would gang up on them. He was dead. Wu Qian was poisoned to death. Most of the people present felt their hearts trembling. Another top heaven's pride expert was killed by Lu Ming. Including by Mo, there were 2 top heaven's pride experts who had died at the hands of Lu Ming. It was too tragic. In the previous treasure auction, very few upper-grade Earth spiritual bodies were killed. Geniuses of this level, even if there was a gap in combat strength, it wouldn't be too big. It was possible to defeat them, but it was very difficult to kill them. This time, it was only the 20th round, and 2 heaven's favorites of this level had already died. There were also many who were seriously injured. Because of Lu Ming, the small meeting this time was many times more tragic than before. Lu Ming put away Wu Qian's storage ring and returned to the platform. Then, someone went up to the fighting ring and cleaned it. After all, Wu Qiandu had released so many poisonous insects, snakes, and the like. The fighting ring was filled with poisonous substances. On the platform of the Heavenly God sect, the Heavenly God sect's team leader's eyes were incomparably cold. His gaze swept over Tian Shui and Xuaningxin, who were currently recuperating, and his killing intent was faintly visible. This guy wants to challenge Tian Shui and Xuaningxin in the next round. Lu Ming said. Now, Tian Shui and Xuaningxin were seriously injured. If they were to be challenged by the Heavenly God sect's team leader, it would be extremely dangerous. The Heavenly God sect's team leader obviously wanted to take this opportunity to kill Tian Shui and Xuaningxin. I won't let him succeed. Han Sun said, his killing intent cold. After cleaning up, the competition continued. It was unknown if the atmosphere had been incited, but when it was the other sect's turn, it became even more intense and explosive. The other sects that had grudges with each other also began to send out their top experts to challenge the top experts of the sects that had grudges with each other. After Lu Ming and Wu Qiandu, there were 2 more clashes between the top powerhouses. The battle was extremely intense. In the end, the top geniuses of the Intentionless Saber sect and the Demon Castle were both injured and fell off the fighting ring. The top-tier expert of the Linglong Palace had defeated his opponent with a serious injury and won. Soon, it was Dragon God Valley's turn to challenge. Han Sun stood up, took a step forward, and appeared on the fighting ring. Yu Sheng, come down. Han Sun coldly said. Yu Sheng was the name of the team leader of the Heavenly God sect. Everyone was shocked. Han Sun was challenging Yu Sheng. The leaders of the 2 sects were about to clash. Yu Sheng's eyes turned cold. His original plan was to wait for the next round. When it was the time for the Heavenly God sect to challenge him, he would personally take action to kill Tian Shui or Xuaningxin. Obviously, Han Sun had seen through his plan and directly challenged him. Yu Sheng stepped out and landed on the fighting ring. It's the same if I kill you first. Yu Sheng said coldly. Brilliant holy light burst out of his body. He was bathed in the holy light, and there was no dust or dirt on him. Yu Sheng was a direct descendant of the Tianqian sect, and he cultivated the pure techniques of the Tianqian sect. What big words! Han Sun sneered. A terrifying cold chi burst out from his body, spreading in all directions. Half of the fighting ring was covered with white frost. Boom! Boom! Yu Sheng and Han Sun charged at each other at the same time and started an intense battle. The 2 figures kept clashing on the fighting ring at an increasingly fast speed. Some of the weaker cultivators could no longer see the 2 figures clearly. They could only see the endless holy light and the terrible cold current clashing on the battle platform, forming a pillar of chi that shot into the sky. Whoosh! Yu Sheng was bathed in holy light, holding the spear of God's punishment. He was like a god descending to the world, ready to punish the world. White dragon scales emerged on Han Sun's body, and he was covered in a layer of ice armor. His arms had turned into dragon claws, which were so terrifying that they seemed to be able to tear apart everything. Buzz! Buzz! The dragon claw and the spear of God's punishment collided fiercely. Puchi! Han Sun's shoulder was pierced by the spear of God's punishment, but his other dragon claw was still on Yusheng's chest, almost ripping his heart out. The two of them were injured at the same time, and their clothes were stained red with blood. However, the battle continued. To be honest, Han Sun and Yusheng's combat power was very terrifying, even stronger than Bai Mo's. It could be said that in the future, they were very likely to be among the top 10 geniuses of the Azure continent. After all, the top 10 geniuses were selected by the younger generation below the Saint Realm. Once the current top 10 geniuses entered the Saint Realm, they would automatically be removed from the top 10 geniuses and replaced by New Heaven's favorites. It could be said that these two future freaks were going to fight in advance. This battle lasted for more than 300 moves. The two's true essence and physical strength gradually ran out. In the end, it became a hand-to-hand fight. The two were entangled, and their blood stained the fighting ring. Bang! In the end, the two of them rolled off the fighting ring at the same time, ending the battle. Lu Ming moved and appeared beside Han Sun. He poured his essential core into Han Sun's body and said, "Senior brother Han Sun, are you alright? Don't worry, it's fine. That guy is even worse off." Han Sun said with a smile. "Humph." Yusheng snorted coldly. With the help of the disciples of the Heaven God sect, he landed on the stands, took a healing pill, and began to heal his injuries. Lu Ming supported Han Sun to the stand behind the platform. Then, they returned to the platform. In this way, there were only 3 people left in the Dragon God Valley. However, the people of the Heavenly God sect all had gloomy faces. After Yusheng stepped down, there were no more top experts in the Tianshan sect. It was a complete joke to win the first place. The competition continued, and soon, this round was announced to be over. It was time for the 22nd round. In this round, the remaining disciples of the Tianshan sect had completely lost their morale. They randomly sent out one person to challenge the other sections. It was the Tianyu demonic sect's turn. "I'll do it." In the Tianyu demonic sect, he carried the demonic blade on his back and stepped out. He landed on the battle platform and looked directly at Dragon God Valley. His eyes swept across Tianshui and Xuanningshin. Lu Ming's heart sank. "You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.